we're gonna make some adjustments here. So enjoy the scenery.
Did somebody is your front door? Yeah, I got it. Yeah, slide that table out. Right?
I don't know is the extension cord for the computer gonna go that far? Yeah. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, we got an extension cord. Yeah, we definitely got an extension cord. Yeah, we can move this out until he, until. Okay, you got an extension cord though? Yeah. Okay, cool. We're fine until the computer is. It's y'all sit here. We gonna sit here. That's why he did that. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't gonna put my foot over.
You know.
Okay. So somebody else can come on in?
Yeah.
Okay, this your chair.
Yeah.
When you get a chance, Jesus, look into that, because I'm in. Retirement.
There we go. Oh, that feels so good. Yeah.
You like the sun, brother Leon?
I don't get the sun too much.
Hey, this is a
We ain't had no university.
All right. So I don't have any mic set up here, but we're close. We're close enough to hear everybody. So
He's working on it. Yeah.
and there's more people who share, start sharing. Shalom, shalom. All right. I don't even know if anyone's watching yet. I have my phone in my pocket. See? I need to get my phone out of my pocket. You gonna grab your sunglasses? The vitamin D.
A little shade.
The vitamin D.
Just a little bit bright out. You know, when you're looking at that paper, and you glare back at you like, what?
Everybody comfortable? Feeling cool?
Yeah.
This is different, huh? Yeah. If there's critters around, if they start flying, or I'll light the candles, or somebody can light the candles. I'll give you the lighter. Cool.
You know they have a plant called mosquito plants.
We need to plant those.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can smell them.
Oh really?
And it keeps mosquitoes.
That's probably what they put
And
in
I use
little.
them as hanging plants on my patio.
That's
So,
what
yeah.
Yeah.
They really do work.
Okay. I need to hook that up. Shalom, Kirsten. Shalom, shalom. How are you today, sis? Cool. We just getting set up. I just wanted to go live. That I wanted to go live to make sure we don't go live too late. People like, where y'all at? I said, I'm gonna start these things at 1:15, 120 at the latest, but 1:15 we start this live. We're getting adjusted. We're outside. We're on my back patio. You know what I'm talking about. So we're on the back patio. We're chilling. You're gonna hear, regular conversations because we just chilling. We family here, right? This is called an informal service, but it's good. This is what regular life do. The regular. No. Okay, cool. Good to hear that you're doing great, Sister Kirsten. Happy New Year. Yay! Roast the fish. Alright. So the new moon should be able to be sighted tonight. So actually, the 31st is actually the day, the 14th day. So yeah. Yeah. I know it's got kind of glare right now, because the sun is beaming. But uh, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna do yeah, we're gonna do the Shema, and then I'll translate it, and we do a prayer. Okay, so I'll read it in the Hebrew, and then Brother BA is gonna read the translation of the Shema, and then we're gonna do a prayer, and then get into the Torah study. All right.
Let me read it first, or you want me to read it Hebrew first?
I'll read it in the Hebrew first. If anybody got allergies, we got some stuff for that. This little the white blooming tree, boy, that's it's a cold piece. All right.
That's number 6, right?
Yeah, Deuteronomy.
Oh, Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy. Yeah. The number 6 is the Aaronic blessing.
Yeah.
I'm
sitting there like the prayer. May Yahweh bless you. And
no, that's
shalom and
good
all
to
that,
do
too.
on our way out too.
We were
Yeah.
doing that That's what Elder Amos did.
Okay. Yeah. We started incorporating that. Right. Okay. Cool. Deuteronomy 6 verses 4 to 6 in the Hebrew first. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Ve'achabta et Yahweh Elohecha b'kol lebabecha ubekol nashecha ubekol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadabarim ha'ele asher anochi mesawecha hayom al lebabecha.
Amen. And I'm reading the Shema from the Greek Septuagint, Deuteronomy chapter 6. And it reads, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy mind, and with all thy soul, with all thy strength. And these words, all that I commanded thee this day, shall be in thy heart and in thy soul. And the Most High added blessings to hearing the reading of his commandment. Praise the Most High.
We'll do a prayer. Anyone want to volunteer?
I do.
Father God, we thank you today for your presence first and foremost, Father. We ask you to bless this fellowship. Thank you for all those who made it here. Thank you for and bless those who yet might still be on the way. We ask you to add a special blessing to the word today going forward, that that our eyes are able to see, our ears able to hear, our hearts open, Father, that we're able to receive your instructions, Father, that we may take the words off these pages and enter them into our lives, Father, that we are better for it, Father, and all the people that we come into contact with, Father, we're able to be a blessing also, Father. So we just thank you today. Thank you for Asante. Thank you for Brother Darrell for opening up their home to us, Father, and we thank you for the freedom, Father, that we're able to come and worship around your word, Father, but with no pressures on us, Father, but we do it with an open heart, Father, because we love you so, Father. And so we just thank you today. We bless you, we honor you, we give you all praise and worship you so rightly deserve. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Yeshua, most definitely.
How many people read this week's Torah portion?
Back into a little bit of Leviticus.
Yeah.
And, time caught up to
Okay. Cool. All right. So last week we summed up Exodus. We're done with Exodus, right?
Yeah.
And
the priest.
Right. Now we're going to deal with the priests. Before the priest got ordained, they had they had to have a place to serve in. So the tabernacle was created and resurrected, correct?
Mm-hmm.
On the first day of the month, right? That would be the month of Abib. So that would be a year after they came out of Egypt, right? And so now, you have this beautiful tabernacle with its utensils, its altar, its ark. You have to have people, priests, to do the serving, and you have to have some instructions for when you're, going to bring things to the priest to get you to get you in right standing with the Father. And the priests are in servitude, and they're going to be told what they have to do first in order to serve the people, and there's instructions on how to come or approach the Most High. You can't just come any old way. You know, there's particulars that the Father lays out, and the Father already gave us or implanted inside of us the capabilities to do the gifts and the talents He's bestowed upon us. And so, He's going to give us these instructions, these details, these intricacies of how to approach Him, right?
And then another thing, prior to going to Leviticus, if you notice the last couple of chapters of Exodus, it leads us this direction. Just the regulations and the rules and how the priests are to conduct themselves, the proper attire, and things of that nature. That's for those who are not aware of that. Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. Sure is Happy New Year.
Yeah.
So now we're in the process of, we're going to do more of a detailed, more thorough look at what the priest, Aaron and his sons, and Moses himself, the things that they had to do. You know what I'm saying? So all right there.
That way you can see what everybody's saying. Kind of cuts off everything else is good.
Okay.
Oh, that's a comment I let you do every day.
Yeah. It's just some of these are just so long.
This is a treat for me because this will be my first time actually doing a Torah portion from Leviticus. I've always been in and out of them. I'll jump in a few, jump out a few. So starting from chapter 1 most definitely is a lesson for me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So we're gonna go ahead and pick it up at Leviticus. We're not gonna read all of this, but we're gonna go through different parts, and then we're gonna make the connections to the Haftorah. There's the Haftorah or the prophet segment from Ezekiel and from Isaiah, right? But we can connect them both, and then from Matthew chapter 5. So I'm going to have let's see, it's a lot, but let's see, Leviticus 1. Let's go to 1 to 7, verses 1 to 7.
And I'm reading from the Greek Septuagint, and it reads Leviticus chapter 1, starting at verse 1. And Yahweh called Moses again and spoke to him out of the tabernacle of witness, saying, Speak to the children of Israel. Thou shalt say to them, If any man of you shall bring gifts to the Lord, ye shall bring your gifts of the cattle, and of the ox, and of the sheep. If his gifts be whole burnt offerings, he shall bring an unblemished male of the herd to the door of the tabernacle of the witness. He shall bring it as acceptable before the Lord. And he shall and he shall lay his hand on the head of the burnt offering as a thing acceptable for him to make atonement for him. And they shall slay the calf before the Lord. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall bring the blood, and they shall pour the blood round about on the altar, which is at the doors of the tabernacle of witness, having flayed
Or skinned. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
flayed
Yeah.
the whole burnt offering. They shall divide it by its limbs.
Cut it
And
into pieces, pretty
exactly.
much, right? Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall put a fire on the altar, and shall pile wood on the fire. Pile wood on the fire.
Pile wood on the fire. Yeah.
Yeah, ain't that something?
Actually, read to verse 9.
Okay, verse 8. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall pile up the divided parts, and the head and the fat of the wood on the fire, the wood which is on the altar, and the entrails and the feet they shall wash in water, and the priest shall put all on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a sacrifice, a smell of a sweet savor to Yahweh.
All right. So I'll pause right here. You go back up to verse 4. When you bring your offering or your gift, it's for acceptance to make atonement for you, to cover for you. You pretty much did some sort of transgression or missing the mark, or um, you went in opposition of the instruction or the Torah, meaning you did a commandment that you weren't supposed to do, or where you were supposed to do, you didn't do it, and vice versa. So I want to talk about this word offering or gift. I thought this was beautiful. Um, Korban, Korban. Uh, the root is kereb. So the root or the letters that start off the word before it has added consonants in the front or the back or whatever. That word kereb means come near. So when you're offering or bringing a gift to the Most High, you're coming near to the Most High. You're coming near to Yahweh. And when you come near to Yahweh, you're actually elevating yourself. You know what I mean? You're trying to elevate yourself to do better and be better. Uh, yeah, yeah. Anybody want to add anything or questions for that? Okay.
Go to James real quick.
All right. James?
James.
All right. And after he goes to James, I'll continue on with what the burnt or
if you don't mind.
No, I don't burn. You got a lot to read over. Go ahead. Uh-huh. Mhm. Right. What you raised, right? Right.
Yeah, it's not something you're gonna borrow or buy from the neighbor.
Good point.
This is your offering.
Right, because it's to cover for you. It takes your place. That life that has blood in it, that takes your place. Yeah. It's a substitute. Right.
James chapter 4.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna pick up at verse 8.
Okay, 4 and 8.
Yes.
Okay.
Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you.
Mhm.
Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded.
Right.
See how that lines up?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you willfully sin against them, okay, you got an opportunity to clean yourself,
right,
and present yourself properly.
Right.
So that just flows with it. You know what I'm saying? This is how I try to always show people that the Bible is one complete testament. It's the whole concept is in the whole thing. There's no such thing as a this and it ain't that. It's one whole thing. I just want to stress that.
Oh, you good. The word for burnt or ascending offering, is olah, and olah means ascending because it's going up, right? And it's for your intentional sins. It's for when you fail to do positive commandments. It's for sinful or transgressing thoughts that you had, but maybe the thoughts did not manifest into actions. So those type of things are covered by the olah or burnt or ascending offering, right? And they're totally burned up, right? Totally burned up. All right. Let's see. Read verse 10 real quick. Leviticus 1 verse 10.
Verse 10. And if his gift be of the sheep of the Lord, or of the lambs, or the kids for whole burnt offerings, he shall bring it a male without blemish.
All right. So this type of offering has to be a what?
Male.
A male. All right. Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. No blemishes. No defects.
Spotless.
Look that word up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You can't have broke limbs, sores,
Scars.
the one eye is poked out, things of that nature, right? Leviticus chapter 1, read verse 14 real quick.
Verse 14. And if he brings his gift a burnt offering to Yahweh of birds, then shall he bring his gift of doves or pigeons.
All right, so turtle doves or pigeons. Why do you think turtle doves are pigeons? Because if somebody can't afford to bring a bull, they got to bring what they can afford. You still have an opportunity to be covered if you're not rich like the next person.
See how fair this God is? God of justice.
Yeah.
Not about the rich. It's about everybody.
Mm-hmm. Continue to read to the end of the chapter, BA.
Okay, we'll pick it up from 14.
15 to 17. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
Says he is slaughtered on the north side of the offering.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know why? Specifically on the north side.
I read that, but Go ahead. You can elaborate.
There you go.
No, I don't know. I mean, I had it highlighted. I know we talked about it before, and I didn't remember what we had come up with.
No, I didn't write that in my notes, but let me see.
But it says, you know, a male without defect, he is to slaughter it
Mhm.
on the north side of the altar before Adonai.
Right.
And the sons of Aaron, the Kohen, the priest, are to splash his blood against all sides of the altar. But it was a note that I had. It was something significant about why it had to be slaughtered on the north side.
North side. I know when you're facing east, north is on your left side. I know there's an east. I know there's the wind that comes from the east, but there's something about the north. I didn't write it down. I didn't write it down. I glanced over it. Didn't write it down. So I can't recall it to mind.
I got 15.
Say that again.
The north side is the north side.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you're facing east.
So we look to the east, right? So the north side's on my left.
Mhm.
You know, if we look at it, if we consider right
Yeah.
to left order, but it was something significant about the north. You know, because we were talking about the fragrance, and so it connected with like the wind. It has something to do with
It's
why
something to
it
do with
was
the
from
wind.
the north. I just don't remember. I thought maybe somebody could.
The north side usually, the left side is usually, the right side is the righteous side.
Yeah.
The fault is on the righteous side. Most of your evil intentions, usually the bad stuff come from the left side. I don't know, I'm just talking.
Well, yeah,
That's
because
something we can look into.
because like you said, when he's talking about if someone smites you on the right, offer your left. Because if you're facing him, my left, and he's facing me, so someone would have to strike me through him. Now he's facing opposite direction, so his right is my left.
Never looked at it like that
Huh?
before. Never thought of it like that.
Yeah, because it was the analogy of that is like if they strike you on this side, offer this side, because now they're going to have to come through him.
Because he's gonna, yeah, okay. I see. Okay. So I'm gonna go to verse 15 in Leviticus chapter 1. I'm gonna read from there. We're gonna read it out, right? Okay. And the priest shall bring it to the altar, and shall write off its head, and the priest shall put it on the altar, and shall wring out the blood at the bottom of the altar, and he shall take away the crop with the feather, and shall cast it forth by the altar toward the east to the place of the ashes. And he shall break it off from the wings, and shall not separate it. And the priest shall put it on the altar on the wood, which is on the fire. It is a burnt offering, a sacrifice, a sweet smelling savor to Yahweh. And if a soul bring it,
Pause. That's the end, huh?
yeah,
it don't
yeah,
say,
yeah,
huh?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
it. Okay.
that Septuagint, yeah, this, yeah,
You got to go do something and
yeah,
start
yeah,
marking.
I gotta
I'm like,
start marking
yeah. All right. So, questions. I mean, good question about the north. Why you have to just sprinkle we'll slay it on the north side. Um, I'm gonna ask Torch inside because I think he knows more about the directions and stuff. But I'll ask him later. But uh, any thoughts on why the bird, like when you bring a turtle dove or a pigeon, you remove its crop with its feathers, but split it at the wings, but don't separate it or don't totally sever it. You know why is that? Like think of a bird. Like a bird can fly, right? It has freedom. You know, when it's not in the cage, it can go where it wants to go, right? So
So is it saying break its wings but not cutting them off?
yeah, like break the wing a little bit, but not totally remove it from
Yeah.
the bird. Anyone? No, go ahead.
it's part of the cleansing process. Pretty much, if you ever slaughter animals, like I used to hunt, so I was trained by some old men, like rabbits, birds. There's a specific way to clean them so that you don't disrupt that food pouch because that's where the foul smell. And if you cut it, then it gets on the rest of the meat, and then the meat's no good.
That's a good point.
It contaminates the meat if that's what it's talking about.
That could be that could be
it.
So just
Because
like
it
you
did
would
say
just
to
how you would
remove
clean fish,
the
I
food
mean, real
pouch.
fishermen know there's a specific way to do that, so you don't want to foul the meat.
Yeah.
And that would make it unclean.
Yeah.
Right.
And you wouldn't be able to use it for an offering if you
No,
did that.
because this is something you're offering up that's holy.
Yeah.
Right.
And the cleansing process is always important.
Wow.
Right. Now, when I asked about what you derived from it, it doesn't have to just necessarily only mean one thing. You know what I mean? It can mean a plethora. Sister Kirsten said, "Does it represent a wounding?" Yeah.
A wounding?
A wounding, like you're a wound. A wound is something where it hurts. There's probably some healing that can be done from it, right? So a bird has freedom of flight, right? And that wing gives it the freedom of flight, right? So if you're not severing the bird wing totally, you give that bird also a chance to heal and be redeemed and then regain that freedom. That's just a thought.
That's a good way to look at it too.
Right. Like I said, you're bringing yourself to the Father. You're repenting. You're saying I got to change your heart, and the Father forgives, or doesn't pay you back for what you did. Pretty much, that's what forgiveness is. It's just a paying you back. Well, the Father says I forgive you. You can be restored. Try again. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Right. Make sure you talk up. So I'm talking loud. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, BA.
Because BA can
Put on your loud voice.
Come on.
Like somebody was saying,
Right.
go back and look at the past verses. Yes, you know what you did. You didn't talk to the Most High about it. Now you know what to do.
Yep.
From here on out, do it right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Read 16 again.
16 Septuagint.
Leviticus chapter 1 verse 16.
Yeah. And he shall take away the crop with the feathers, and shall cast it forth by the altar toward the east, to break place of the ashes.
That's right. So I know there was something significant about something that's done on the north.
Yeah.
This was done on the east.
Yeah.
And there's a significance in that.
I know the east presents a couple of things. It produces the wind that comes from it. That's for destruction. Yeah. I know in Ezekiel, the east gate is pretty much where people it's believed that the Most High Yeshua is going to return through the east gate. I know that. I'm just going off the helmet, off the off the top of the brain there. All right. Before we move on, anyone? Okay. I think we are able to make good time. We got 5 chapters to cover. Like I said, I'm not going to read everything in the 5 chapters, but we're going to make the connections. All right. Leviticus chapter 2. This is beautiful. Actually, we need to read all of chapter 2. I just go ahead. Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 2, verse 1. And if a soul bring a gift, a sacrifice to the Lord, his gift shall be fine flour. And he shall pour oil upon it, and shall put frankincense on it. It is a sacrifice. And he shall bring it to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and having taken from it a handful of fine flour with the oil and all its frankincense, then the priest shall put the memorial of it on the altar.
All right, pause just for a minute. Are you at the end of verse 2, right? Okay, continue to the end of verse 2.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
It is a sacrifice and odor of sweet savor to the Most High. Now that's the end.
Okay. So, let me see. Let me read it in the Hebrew. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 1. When the fish ki takrib, a takrib when somebody comes near, korban to bring an offering mincha leyawe sole, yihye karebano weyazak aleha shemen we natan aleha lebona. Okay, so when the fish and the being ki takri, when he comes near, pretty much when he comes near Karban to bring that offering or a gift, mincha, that meal, it's called the mincha. So the mincha is wheat flour, frankincense, right? All right, and it's going to talk about what that is, and we'll go into some more about that. Keep reading. BN?
Verse 3.
Yeah.
And the remainder of the sacrifice shall be for Aaron and his sons a most holy portion from the sacrifices of the Lord. And if he bring as a gift a sacrifice baked from the oven, a gift to the Lord of fine flour, he shall bring unleavened bread kneaded with oil, and unleavened cakes anointed with oil. And if thy gift be a sacrifice from a pan, it is fine flour mingled with oil, unleavened offerings. And thou shalt break them into fragments and pour oil upon them. It is a sacrifice to the Lord. And if thy gift be a sacrifice from earth, it shall be made of fine flour with oil.
Fall. So if it says a grain offering from the earth, in the Septuagint, that's what it says. Stewing pot, like a pot. All right. So keep going.
Verse 8. He shall offer the sacrifice which he shall make of these to the Lord, and shall bring it to the priest.
Mm-hmm.
And the priest shall approach the altar, and shall take away from the sacrifice memorial of it, and the priest shall place on it the altar, a burnt offering, a smell of sweet savor to the Most High. That which is left of the sacrifice shall be for Aaron and his sons, most holy from the burnt offerings of the Lord. Yet shall not leaven any. Ye shall not leaven or leaven any sacrifice which ye shall bring to the Lord. For as far as any leaven or any honey, ye shall not bring of it to offer a gift to the Lord. Ye shall burn them in the way of fruits to the Lord, but they shall not be offered on the altar for a sweet smelling savor to the Lord. Yep.
Pause. Why no leaven or why no honey may be put into this offering and put on the altar? Why no leaven or no honey on the altar?
Well, leaven represents sin.
Leaven represents sin, transgression of the instructions, commandments, teachings, right?
And it's on the altar. The altar is holy.
Right.
So you don't want nothing touching the altar.
Right.
You know
Now, leaven puffs you up,
yeah,
like
exactly.
like yeast, the bread. It's like leaven represents like a high mindedness. Right. No, why no honey? Think about honey.
Sweet.
Honey is sweet.
But
It's thick.
It's sticky.
It's sticky. Messy. Dirty.
yeah.
So think about the symbolism of honey. Something spiritual
behind it.
Right. So when you think of honey, when you're transgressing the Most High's instructions or teachings, that's not a sweet thing. You done messed up. Now you got something sour going on about you. You know what I mean? Something sour within inside of you. Had you in opposition to the instructions or commandments, right? Whether you did something you wasn't supposed to do, and what you wasn't supposed to do, you did, right?
And it can also be the honey. Also can represent that. Remember, this is not out of ignorance. This is willful sin. You gotta remember that. So it can also be looked at that willfully sinning can be pleasure in the flesh, sweet to the flesh, honey.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff.
And it can't, like I said, it has impurities in it. Yeah. And there's really no cleansing process for honey.
Mm-hmm.
So honey is something that has to be processed.
Processed. Right.
Exactly.
Right. So that's symbolic of not putting honey on the altar could mean like Sister Kirsten said, it could represent you stuck in your sin. You're not supposed to be stuck in your sin, right? Sticky.
But it goes hand in hand with
right.
what we're gonna read in verse 12.
Yep.
That's important.
Right. Right.
Because it said it's the first fruit.
Right. Okay. Keep going.
Verse 12. You shall bring them in the way of fruits to the Lord, but they shall not be offered on the altar for a sweet smelling savor to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And every gift of your sacrifice shall be seasoned with salt. Omit not the salt of the covenant of the Lord from your sacrifices. On every
You said
gift,
omit or
omit.
omit. Okay.
Yeah. Omit not the salt of your covenant of the Lord from your sacrifices. On every gift of yours ye shall offer salt to the Lord your God.
Pause. Why salt?
Salt purifies. No, this is a clean like
It
flavor.
preserves.
Preserves, yeah.
Preserves. No, this is good. We gotta learn.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta relearn over again. You know, I had
So
to
I'm
go.
thinking of fire.
Yeah.
Salt,
Right. Right.
yeah.
It is.
It does.
It still has a flavor.
And everything.
He said because it's in everything. Right. Salt out. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yep. All right.
Water
You feeling the water
I'm
drops?
feeling drops.
All right. If we feeling the water drops, we'll go inside. All right. Keep going.
All right. Verse 14. And if the wouldest offer a sacrifice of first fruits to
And
the
if thou
Lord,
wouldest.
it's also if thou wouldest, yeah.
That's a Septuagint. Shakespearean. Go ahead.
If thou wouldest offer a sacrifice of first fruits to the Lord, it shall never be new. It shall be new grain, ground and roasted for the Lord. So shalt thou bring the sacrifice of the first fruits, and thou shalt pour oil upon it, and shalt put frankincense on it in a sacrifice. And the priest shall offer the memorial of it taken from the grains with oil, and all its frankincense is a burnt offering to the Lord.
Why oil?
Oil is anointed.
Oil is anointing. Oil also don't mix with water, right?
Nope, it doesn't.
Right. So we're not supposed to, as Israel, mix with the ways of the oppressors and the nations, things of that nature,
Yeah,
right?
like Christ has said in Revelation, I either want you hot or cold.
Yeah.
I don't want you lukewarm.
Right.
I'll spit you out.
Right.
Now, this is
My Bible says, verse 16, in the complete Jewish Bible, says the Cohen is to cause a reminder portion of it. It's grits and olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
grits ain't just soul food.
Right. We been eating grits.
Israel.
You know what I mean? We been eating grits. It's a grain or a type of flour, right? Right. All right. And that lined up, you know, the salt of the earth when Yeshua in Matthew 5 says when you are the salt of this earth, how be it you're gonna be that if you know how be it if you lose your flavor.
Yeah, you're no good.
Right. No good. Yeah, this rain cloud. Okay, so
You felt the drop?
yeah, it's good, but the thing is,
I'm not
we'll pause and go inside. You know, if this little
If it starts to get darker?
no, and if it starts to come down, you know what I'm saying? Because it could be moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He showed up. He ain't left yet.
The crow said I want some.
All right. If more to come down than a few, you know, just because something came down yesterday, like for 5 minutes,
5
a
seconds,
couple
5
of
minutes.
drips, and then it was gone. But, okay, let's continue.
Chapter 3.
Leviticus chapter 3.
Anywhere in particular, chapter 3 or just something?
Start from the top.
Leviticus chapter 3.
We'll
verse
probably
1.
read all of it. We're making good timing. Go ahead.
And if his gift to the Lord be a peace offering, if he should bring it of the oxen, whether it be male or whether it be female, he shall bring it unblemished before the Lord.
All right, so pause. So this type of offering, right? When you bring a peace or a shalomim offering, it is what, male or female. The last the last burnt or olah or assenting offering had to be male. So this one is male or female, right? Keep going.
And he shall lay his hands on the head of the gift, and shall slay it before the Lord by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. And the priest and the son of Aaron shall pour the blood out the altar of burning offerings around about. And they shall bring a peace offering, a burnt sacrifice to the Lord, the fat covering the belly, and the fat on the belly, and 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them. He shall take away that which is on the thighs and the caul, above their liver, together with the kidneys. And the priest, the son of Aaron, shall offer them on the altar, on the burnt offering, on the wood which is on the fire upon the altar.
All right, pause. So we might have to move in because the rain coming.
Yeah.
All right, so it's starting to rain. So I'm not gonna turn this off, but we're just gonna take the computer inside, right? Or let me see.
You could probably move on.
All right. So we're gonna migrate into the inside.
Don't leave. Stay there. Tune in. We're just gonna make a quick transition.
All right.
California, man. They hey, guess what? You know that song? It doesn't rain in California. It's raining today.
We in the north.
Well, we're North. We're in North California,
Right.
not LA.
We was good for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Sacramento.
You don't need that, son. You don't need that. Son. You don't need that.
All right. Yeah, the water started coming down, Sister Kirsten. No more backdrop. You can probably see us better too in here, but I want to enjoy some sunshine, California weather. My husband's bringing in the table when the table gets set up right there.
She said y'all made the sugar now, y'all don't know.
The deck.
No, I didn't want to trip you because my backpack is mad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please don't trick me, man. Because the way the insurance is set up.
You don't got insurance?
No, we do. I'm still there? Okay. That's different weather too. Yeah, but that Denver get humid sometime, man. Trust me
That could do no different. No, not in the winter.
Denver's pretty cool any other time.
Even off of the Midwest region.
The artillery. All right. All right. that up where you got to take the thing off of your head. You don't know?
No, that was the rule in my grandma's house.
Oh, okay, okay.
Tradition.
See how we still be following, right? All right. So, actually, BA, where did you leave off at?
We were at verse
Leviticus
3, and we was in the top, verse 5.
Okay, so Leviticus 3, verse 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the priests, the sons of Aaron, shall offer them on the altar a burnt offering on the wood which is on the fire upon the altar. It is a burnt offering, a smell of sweet savor to the Lord. And if his gift be of the sheep a peace offering to the Lord, male or female, he shall bring it unblemished. So he's very straight and sure about this blemished
Right.
animal or whatever that needs to be sacrificed. Verse 7. And if he bring a lamb for his gift, he shall bring it before the Lord. And he shall lay his hands on the head of the offering, and shall slay it by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. And the priests, the sons of Aaron, shall pour out the blood on the altar round about, and he shall bring of the peace offering a burnt sacrifice to the Lord, the fat and the hinder part unblemished. He shall take away with the lions.
The loins?
No, I'm sorry, the loins. Sorry about that.
You good?
And having taken away all the fat that covers the belly, and all the fat that is on the belly, and both the kidneys and the fat that is upon them, that which is on the thighs, and the cow, that's what it says in here, the cow, which is on the liver, which is with the kidneys. The priest shall offer these on the altar. It is a sacrifice of sweet savor and burnt offering to the Lord.
All right. So, in your translation, does it say it's a offering as food?
What verse?
In verse 11.
Verse
Leviticus
11.
3:11.
It reads, the priest shall offer these as on the altar. It is a sacrifice of sweet savor, a burnt offering to the Lord. It's a burnt offering.
Okay, so go ahead.
My version said that it is food.
It is food.
And it's on the Septuagint, if it says a sweet savor, then we'll just say that
We can't always assume that.
Not
Though. But this is why we do comparison. You know, we look at different texts and different versions. We look at that's a little bit of textual criticism. What version you were looking at, Rosina? You said?
I'm looking at the scriptures.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. So King James says food too. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Verse 11.
Verse 11.
Let me see. Yeah, Leviticus chapter 3, verse 11. And the reason why I'm asking specifically, you know, what said, because sometimes the translations are good, sometimes the translations not so good, but we always got to go back to the text and double check. You know what I mean? I look at the Septuagint is the Greek, and that's where I'm gonna go check out 3 and 11. That word they use, it said it should be just a sweet savor.
Yeah, the priest shall offer these on the altar. It is a sacrifice of sweet savor.
Okay, so were you about to say something? Oh no, okay.
I think it's food for the fire.
Food for the fire.
Food of the fire.
Food of the fire. Of is from, right? So food from the fire. So this type of offering is for making peace. It's it's not necessarily an offering that you sin for. Perhaps it's a thank you offering or you're told off.
Yeah.
So one person can bring it or a group of people can bring it. They eat it because a lot of the sacrifices made of flesh in the fire, the priest and the family of the priest are eating them. But this type of shalomim or what's included in it is a thank you offering, just to say thank you, Father. Right? And so one person can bring it or a group of people can bring it. They feast together, rejoice as a thank you, shalomim. So in the I don't know if this is all the way near the Septuagint, But um, um, the word carpoma, and excuse me, I am reading this Greek. This is kind of difficult, but carpoma is called a yield offering, fruit bearing, productive, right? Pleasant aroma, right, is the word Euodias. Euodias.
Yeah,
A sweet smell, fragrance,
yeah.
an odor, satisfaction, a sweet odor spoken of the smell of sacrifices, to agreeably to the ancient notion that God smells and is pleased with the odor, right? Um, but in the Hebrew, the word for food there is lechem. What does that sound like? Bread, lechem, bread, food. There you go. So that's why it's good to go back. You know what I mean? Sometimes the Greek brings out that. So sometimes the Greek brings out some things that the Hebrew doesn't.
Yeah, the Greek is a little bit more clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or the Greek can sometimes explain it much better because the Hebrew is just like you said, it's very
It's
concrete.
it's
Very
concrete,
concrete.
and
Very,
we weren't raised in a concrete
yeah,
thinking
like you
culture.
said, bread. Some, that doesn't necessarily mean it's literal bread. It just makes the Hebrew's not definite. I mean, it's definite. It's telling you what it is, but it's more of an action in a sense. This is something that it can be eaten, or it could be more. It's just something.
It's eaten.
Yeah, eaten. Yeah, but the thing is that, but you know, yeah, it's not saying it's literal
Well,
bread.
it could be
But
literal. It could be figurative, or it
But
could
you
be
see how the
both.
Hebrew is, how it is.
Yeah.
So
The Hebrews just had a much, they didn't have a large vocabulary.
Back then,
yeah,
correct.
exactly.
Good
So
point.
The Greeks just extended the vocabulary that they didn't have. So they
Yeah,
had one word for every kind of bread, you know.
yeah.
Right.
It was a symbol of bread, but it's like we don't know. Was it sweet bread? Was it
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the Greek could probably give it a little more clarity in detail.
If it was a sweet smelling thing to the Father, then that was always a burnt offering.
Not always. See, we're differentiating what type of offerings there were and for what.
Well, we have to read the
Yeah.
rest of the chapter.
Chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's sweet smelling thing to the Father, it's burnt.
A lot of these are sweet smelling savors. We just read 3 different offerings that were
But the peace offering was not a sweet smelling thing. It didn't say that.
where
Yeah,
in the Hebrew.
The priest shall offer these on the altar. It is a sacrifice of sweet savor. So it's something to be appreciated. I mean, something to be appreciated.
Right.
Sense, you know what I'm saying? But
But all I'm saying, anything that smells good to him,
oh, it's good.
burnt.
Yeah. Or
Fire.
Right. It's made by
yeah,
fire.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
That's good.
Definitely. Now, Sister Kirsten, I'm glad you asked the question. Are we not to consume fat? And I wrote, no, we are to consume fat. Let's differentiate between fat. See, I work out a lot, right? And try to eat a little healthy. And I was talking to BA the other day about eating salmon. Salmon has your omega-3
Yeah,
fatty acid.
there
You're
you go,
supposed you're supposed to
Yeah.
have a certain type of fat in your body and a certain level of
Yeah.
fat in your body. And you know, me and my husband, a few times out the week, we get up. I'm answering your question. It's gonna be a long answer because I'm gonna give it to you. When we wake up in the morning, sometimes at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym. Don't eat. Just go do some cardio for like 30 minutes. And people say, why you do that, Shanti? And I said, good question. When you go, uh, do some exercises right after you wake up. After you fasted, which is you sleeping, right? You're not eating for that time. You have this stored energy. You have the stored fat cell energy. And when you start working out, your body's like, oh my gosh, I need some energy to operate. So it's going to use the fat stored energy, that unhealthy fat stored energy, as like a wood to your fire. Your fire is your metabolism, right? Now, to answer your question, um, go to Proverbs chapter 27, verse 27. I'm going to read something real quick.
I think we have to like read the chapter. because it kind of
Okay.
contradicts what we're saying. Because the chapter says something different, so we need to make sure we're defining what the word is saying. Because I understand where that question comes from.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna come up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It does often. People like, well, why can't? Wait a minute. We're the father's telling the children of Israel to eat some flesh, you know. But he says when you're offering, don't don't eat the fat. And people go say, okay, well we can't eat no fat. And I'm like, okay, we got to distinguish what type of fats there are. So just real quick, Proverbs 27 verse 27.
27.
Yep.
You said 27, right?
Yeah. You want me to read it?
Yeah, it said 20. Holy frick. Oh my God.
Anybody
Okay.
got it? You you got
It
it.
says,
You got it.
a
Okay.
righteous man is no, that's not
All right.
Proverbs, is it Proverbs 27:27?
Yeah.
Now you go ahead and read this real quick, bro.
Yeah. Go ahead. And make sure you speak up so we can pick you up in the thing. Go ahead.
And thou shalt have goats' milk enough for thy food, for the food of thy household, and for the maintenance for thy maid.
All right.
You said 27, right?
Yeah.
And it said 2 is verse 26.
Okay. Go ahead and read it.
Thou mayest have wool of sheep for clothing. Pay attention to the land that thou mayest have land.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm looking for something in particular. Proverbs 27 verse 27. No? Okay. Here. It says Proverbs 27 verse 27. Milk enough. Thou shalt have goats milk enough and for the food and the food of thy household and maintenance for thy maidens. So the word milk is halev, right? 2461. And milk, sour milk, cheese, milk, abundance of the land as a metaphor, and white as milk, because you know milk is white. So milk is a type of fat. So when somebody says, well, you can't have no fat, no, milk is a type of fat. And what do babies drink on, right? Before they're walking, what they drink on? Milk, right? Now, the type of fat that comes from the word for the offerings, right? Proverbs. Yeah. Let me go to it. Leviticus, and then we'll hop back and read the chapter, and then we'll continue because we was making good timing. Um, Leviticus, what was that? 3.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Go back to 3.
No, I'm looking up the word for fat. Hachelev. H2459. So fat. It could be of humans, of beasts, choicest, best part, abundance. So when you're offering or bringing yourself close to the Father, that type of fat you're bringing in that offering, that's the best, choicest part. That's for the Most High. It's not to say you can't eat fat, you know, you can because milk is a type of fat, right? Salmon, type of fat, fatty food. So, what'd you say? I'm scratching it.
Just scratching it. Going. Yeah, well,
Stretching.
yeah. Here it's talking about animal fat.
Right, right. I'll just answer the question because this question comes up a lot, and some people start, you know, the sister Kirsten asked online. She said, you know, can we not eat fat? You know, so some people think they can't eat no cheese, drink no more milk, you know, dairy products and things like that because they're talking about the sacrifices. But we just want to make sure people know how to go back and read in context and then, you know, ponder on the word, meditate, you know, get that understanding and that knowledge. You know what I mean? It's because, you know, somebody hit me up the other day. It was like, oh, okay, well, you know, Israelites was vegans. I'm like, how is Israelites vegans, when the Father is commanding the priest to put this flesh in fire, cook it up, and eat it? You see what I'm saying? The Passover lamb, right? That was a lamb, right? Right. And so, I don't have anything against people going vegan or just wanting to eat only vegetables. You know what I mean? But we have to be careful in what we're getting from the scriptures because some people will start teaching, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. You know what I mean? But I'm like, and then some people's like, okay, well, I asked them, I like, do you take the Bible just only literal or just figurative, and they get stuck. So it's like, make sure you go back and learn how to properly look at the words and look at the context, and just remember that this culture is an Eastern culture. It's a culture outside of our own on the West. You see what I'm saying? All right. Continue Leviticus 3.
Leviticus 3, we're going to go to verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
And if his offering be of the goats, then shall he bring it before the Lord, and he shall lay his hands on his head, and they shall slay before the Lord by the doors of the tabernacle witnesses, and the priest, the sons of Aaron, shall pour out the blood on the altar round about. And he shall offer of it a burnt offering of the Lord, even the fat that covers the belly, and all the fat that is on the belly, and both the kidney and all the fat that is upon them, that which is upon the thighs and the caul of the liver, with the kidneys shall he take away. And the priest shall offer it upon the altar. It is a burnt offering, a smell of sweet savor to the Lord. All the fat belongs to the Lord. It is a perpetual statute there throughout your generations and all your habitations. Ye shall eat no fat and no blood.
All right. Anybody want to add? I mean, yeah.
No, I kind of. I don't want to add.
Okay. Anybody got any questions or anything before we move on? Huh? About anything in Leviticus chapter 3.
This made me think all the fat from animals are supposed to the Lord.
Yeah, when they're giving a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, so you're not basically supposed to eat animal fat.
When you're
it's offering.
When you're offering it. Say for example, if you just go to the stove, right? You get you a steak, and the steak probably got like 1% of fat on it. You just go into the store to get you a meal of steak. You can do that. But when you're offering to the Father, that fat has to go to the Father, because that's the, what we call it, like the people from the South, gristle. Give me the gristle, and they'll start sucking on it and everything. You know what I'm saying? Because it's got the most flavor all up in it, right? And so, I just got it from the grill. My mom, right? My mom and they're from Mobile, Alabama. I'm a California girl. You know what I mean? All the kids were born here. You know what I mean? They came here as kids. So, that part, when you're offering, you have to offer that best, choicest, most favorable part to the Most High. You'll be tempted to eat that fat for yourself. I'm like, yo, give me that gristle.
Yeah, because and the thing is, we just read the Hebrew word where it's saying that when you give the best, all of the best to the Lord. So
Yeah.
this fat is a good piece of fat, and all this stuff is for him. This actual offering is for him only. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But and I think to me that's not. It sounds like we're saying two things to me. Because if we're talking about a burnt offering,
yeah,
then we're not talking about a peace offering. They're not the same instruction.
Correct.
Exactly.
It's not the same instruction as a grain offering.
Exactly.
So now we're talking about a peace offering, and we're talking about eating fat. But if I'm offering a peace offering, if it's going to be a peace offering, then I'm not eating any fat.
Yeah.
It ain't talking about what I'm going to do tomorrow.
It's talking about for that offering.
Right.
Yeah. For this offering,
Good point.
I'm not eating fat or blood, so I'm not going to offer it. So, it's just we're talking about what has fat in it, but not today.
Yeah.
Or it's not a peace offering. And I think that's where the questions come. So now I'm not comparing this to what I do 6 days a week. I'm just talking about
for this one day.
For this offering.
Exactly.
No fat, no blood, and then it tells me if the offering is a goat, then it tells me what parts of the goat determine the fat.
Right.
And offer that, and so we're being specific, but we're not trying to include what we do in our everyday lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just talking about the instructions for a peace offering, if that's the offering that I'm going to make. innocent beings.
It
So
says the fat and the blood you do not eat. You just said it, yeah.
But to connect with,
Now, the little stuff that I'm talking about, that's different. He said the fat and the blood belongs to him.
Right. Well, yeah, what we were talking about is different from what was written here, but some people don't know that it's different. So I was explaining, like, yeah, you can go drink a cup of milk. A lot of people don't think they can go drink a cup of milk, Leon, after they read this. You know what I'm saying?
We just talking about the sacrifice.
Sacrifice,
Yeah.
yeah.
The meat and the blood, the fat and the sacrifice all
Right.
for the Most High.
Right.
But people take this and say, I can't drink milk. I can't eat cheese. Oh. Yeah, but this is what we're talking about.
Right.
This is just talking about when you make this sacrifice to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? But people, like we just said, people will literally take this.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to eat no fat, period. No, this is talking about for the sacrifice to the Most High. That's it.
But also talking about like eating animal fat. The animal fat we are not supposed to eat. That's what I'm saying. That's belongs to that animal. The animal fat you're not supposed to eat. It's not good for you. In fact, it just says here it belongs to the Lord. It's supposed to be to the Lord. I don't care whether it's a sacrifice offering. Like if you're not sacrificing this animal to the Lord, you're still really supposed to eat the fat.
I definitely understand.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely.
You're not supposed to eat the fat of the blood.
yeah, because we say we use olive oil versus animal fat. You know.
Yeah.
Or like you said, when you talk about goat's milk, it doesn't have the same. It has fat in it, but it's not animal fat.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah. So it's not like we couldn't the fat around the steak. You know, with the so they're different kinds of fat. You know. So yeah, you can have that, but like I said, I was saying here, being specific about if you're going to make this offering, I'm telling you how to do it.
Good point.
You know,
right.
And I'm not talking about going, but even when we was reading in Proverbs about the goat milk, because my version says there'll be enough milk left over to go buy food.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of come on two different things, but in Proverbs we weren't talking about preparing the offering. We're just talking about, okay, I'm in a different thing now. I'm just It's just a blessing of the Lord that He's an abundance of the goat milk, and I can use it to feed my family, but I can also use it to sell it and go buy food.
That's right.
But here we're talking about preparing a specific offering.
Yes.
For the Most High. This offering, you are not to eat any fat or blood. And then it says this is a permanent regulation.
Exactly.
Right.
This in particular sacrifice. Yeah, but I was taught years ago. You ain't supposed to eat fat, period. Overall.
All right, yeah, like people say, it's a permanent regulation. So now he says, don't ever eat no fat. Ever. Well, you're not offered a peace offering.
Right.
And that's good. That's good to bring that up too, because as you're talking, it pops in my head. Well, okay, when do you know, or like when do you set it up in your own daily life and structures of when you're doing the peace offering to all the rest of the stuff that you do? You have to distinguish in your own household when you're doing a peace offering to when you're just eating regularly, so that you know when you cannot eat the fat and the blood of that offering.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just like we talk about Shabbat, we're not talking about other 6 days a week.
Good point.
But if I'm honoring Shabbat on this day, then I don't do everything I did the other 6 days. So we're not just
exactly.
We're not being that broad. We're being specific now. So how I eat on Shabbat is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna argue with nobody about what you eat on Sunday.
That's right.
We're just talking about today.
Right.
We should have some restrictions because this is a special day for us to be before the Lord, and it's a holy day. So
But it had to make that clarification.
Pizza tomorrow, I don't even know all that.
Yeah,
That's a
it
good
had to
point.
make that clarification because that's what I said. Because I have those questions pop off in my head too, and sometimes I don't ask them, but it's good when our thoughts come out. She brings up these scriptures because if you don't get your questions answered to the understanding, then you're not gonna know. It's like, okay, what we're reading right now, yes, it's giving you the specifications and the breakdown of that specific offering as of right now.
Hmm.
But will people, like she said, will take it and run with it and make it every day. And so they have to have that understanding of how to break it down and apply it to their life so that they know the difference in what they're doing moment by moment to their own daily life.
Good point.
Yeah.
So like I said, when we read this stuff, most of the time it's just in my head and I always offer that. People are not considering what day of the week is this. First of all.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
They're not considering, am I doing this because it's a specific festival? So there's something I do at the festival that I only do once a year at that festival.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And then if you're gonna do this festival, do it this way.
This way. Yes.
I'm not talking about next week.
Mhm.
Talking about this day.
So
Right.
and if
On
it-
this day.
At this appointed
so
time.
like I said, so when we read this stuff, it doesn't tell us what day of the week they're doing this offering.
Yeah.
We can read further and assume that based on some of the things they're doing is what we would do on Shabbat. We're gonna do this on Monday.
Let's go back to chapter 3 and verse 16. Let's read it again.
Leviticus chapter 3,
3,
verse
16,
16.
yep.
Okay.
And the priest shall offer it upon the altar. It is a burnt offering, a smell of sweet savor to the Lord. All the fat belongs to the Lord. It is a perpetual statute throughout your generations. In all your habitations, you should not eat no fat and no blood. So Moses or Aaron, whoever was saying this, they're just stressing to you this particular offering only. This is the only time you don't eat it. You just offer it to the Most High.
You say, when do you eat blood?
We don't eat blood
No,
at
they
all.
eat blood at all.
Wait, put the fat with it.
Yeah, for this sacrifice
No,
only.
I'm not for just sacrificing. That's it.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just saying though. The point I'm making is that when it comes to the fat, different types of fat, people will just say all kinds of fat, no
Group it all together.
period. Yeah,
And Leon is saying,
and I understand what he's
Leon
saying.
is
Yeah,
saying,
no
I
fat.
don't care what day of the week it is, animal
Yeah,
fat
exactly.
or
Not
pork,
supposed to eat.
you don't
Yeah.
eat.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I agree.
Right.
But
No.
people, but there's also good fats that we can eat, like you said, milk, cheese.
Right.
That people take that too and say no, none
Right.
of that. And I'm like, well, this is just specifically talking about animal fat. They talking about milk and cheese. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Fish oil, olive oil, their oils.
Those
have
are
fats in it.
exactly.
Yeah,
They have
exactly. but people take it and run with it. Like I was taught this years ago. So at how I was taught, I ain't supposed to be eating none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like no fats, period, not at all, not even the good fat, none of it. You know what I'm saying? But you got
somebody who didn't, they
No,
didn't have
didn't
the
have the
knowledge back
understanding.
then that we have.
Elder,
I don't know.
you've been around long enough to know this in Israel.
You're right.
Yeah.
If you were saving your bacon grease,
Your
you were
fish
saving
grease,
your
your
chicken
chicken
grease
Yeah,
with the cook
That's
other
true.
meals with.
Sister
Now
Dre,
they're
that's
saying,
true.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because
We use vegetable oil, we use olive oil,
Yeah.
they don't use bacon grease.
Right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, lard and all that kind of
Yeah.
See,
Right.
because
That fat
you've been around long enough to know that we have a hen house of teachers in Israel, and nowadays you just got people that just start picking a book up, and they put a few connections together, and they're already teaching. You know what I'm saying? And that's why for me and Ashanti, we just started teaching full time just recently. We don't. Prior to this, we were just doing on and off, but now we're starting to come into it more. But it took us a couple of years to do this. You know what I'm saying? You got guys who come into the truth or come into this walk 2 months, and after they less than 6 months, they're already teachers over there. Over got 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 20 people there over.
Yeah.
You ain't been in here a whole year yet. You teaching already?
Yeah. And
Yes.
that is, I think, mixed coupled with what you were just asking, Brother Leon. Well, who teaches that, or how do we end up eating lard? Well, I know for us, our ancestors came up over here. We were stripped,
Yeah.
and then you were assimilated into a culture, and that culture you were assimilated to, they just didn't care, and they gave us a diet that was not originally meant for our bodily system. And we start thinking this stuff is normal, and mama and daddy, grandma, grandpa sometimes passed it on. They didn't know, they didn't have the World Wide Web like we do now.
You know, I said we were poor. We were
Right,
enslaved.
slaves.
We were taken from our cultures.
Yes.
So they didn't do all this in Africa. They didn't have to be taught.
Right.
You know, but when they were taken and enslaved, and they were taught that we remain ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now, the Lord is saying, now we have no excuse.
Yeah, because now all of a sudden
We
we
don't
give
have
the
no excuse
instructions.
now because that's what we did 100 years ago. That's not an excuse for you now. So
The age of information.
yeah, we know better now. We have this. We said now you have the word. Matter of fact, I even wrote it on your heart.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse for you not to remain ignorant.
It's a good point.
So don't forget, everybody, unfortunately, intelligently don't wake up at the same time.
Yes, that's true.
And the reason I say that, that was something that wasn't by choice that we wanted. It was given to us as a
What type of fat?
fact, talking about like Laura fat.
Okay. Sorry.
Given to us for survival, basically too, because when our people were enslaved, they pretty much had to cook with scraps, had to cook with leftovers, had to cook, make do with what they had.
Good point.
What happens is you create something that's tasty or traditional or something that you pass on because for you at that time period it allows you to survive. So without major education, all you know to pass on is the technique.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you pass that information on to your youth, your seed, and they continue to pass it on. But what happens is someone wakes up one day and is like, two of my elders died from heart problems. Maybe I should revisit this
And look at this tradition and see what's going on.
These families over here, who, for some reason, their DNA just didn't react to the fact that theirs did. So they're not seeing anything wrong with it. They're continuing the tradition. So that's when your split begins. Now you have people looking for better ways to maintain survival.
Exactly.
People stick in the ways that allow them to survive all these years. So
yes, sir.
It's the implementation of information, but also what's allowing people to survive and move on in their life. And the more that information we could bring forward, like, look, heart disease is something that shouldn't be happening in this, but because of our that's the way we go about
it's a common thing now. It's very common.
So although this allowed you to survive for this many years, maybe now it is time to look at a transition.
Exactly.
And you're going to have some people who are like, man, I did that in the 80s. I'm already over here.
Right. Right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
The whole thing is just trying to catch our people up to those of us who already are trying to find a different way to live longer and survive, not what was given to us, but what we're trying to find out is what truly ours.
It's healthy for us, or what's properly for our system, right? Our body. Right? Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Torch.
And so again, like I said, these are the parashals and these are meditations.
Yeah.
And so everybody like Torch, and we're not gonna all receive it, but right now we're reading it, and maybe somebody's hearing this for the first time today.
Yeah.
And didn't know where they heard it before, whatever, or didn't know I wasn't supposed to be eating animals.
Yeah.
Nobody told me. But then again, no, I'm not telling you don't eat them. You have to meditate. You
That's
have to
right.
hear what the word
It has to
says.
say
Exactly.
And then you have to receive it, and it may not be this week, might not be next
Right.
week, but it's like Leon, like what he's saying he received is
right.
Don't eat no animal fat or no blood ever.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that.
Right.
I agree with you on that.
That's what the book said.
Yeah.
He said that was for him.
There's a lot of things the book say we don't, it depends on how you hear. So you hearing it. Like what you told me last week. You said prophets don't drink.
Right.
Yeah.
I could have put all this away.
Look at the whole collection right there, man. Prophets can't drink. I don't know what all that.
Hey, what's a hen of wine? You know a hen of wine?
Oh, we read that last night.
It's like a little bit less than a gallon of wine. I'm like, wine is strong drink.
And the Most High told them to have. He even says around this time of the year we celebrate the feast day
Yeah.
have a strong drink.
Yeah.
Relax.
If that's the case, what did Noah get drunk off of, and what did Lot get drunk off of? You know what I'm saying?
No, what I'm saying is that the Most High.
I love the elders. I love the elders.
I love elders. I love the elders. I really do. Oh yeah. Oh man.
We have fun here, y'all.
Yeah, this ain't no militant talking. This is love here.
Right.
Love.
Yeah, definitely. When or
Right. Bring it down.
he said not to come in drunk to the preach. You know, when they're doing their service, you can't be slurring your words and half what happened.
With a lean,
you know.
Perkin or something.
You got to, and moderate, Like I said, we had Noah getting drunk, Lot getting drunk.
I wish you could hear what you said. Clarify.
Oh, because he's probably not loud enough. That's good, but sometimes the elders speak a little soft. But I'll tell you what he said later. We're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Leviticus 4.
Let's go Leviticus chapter 4.
Actually, just read verses 1 to 6. We're gonna do some skipping around.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, If a soul shall sin unwillingly before the Lord in any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which he ought not to do, and he shall do some of them.
All right, so a sin unwillingly, right? That's a mistake.
Accident.
Keep on.
If the anointed priest sin so as to cause the people to sin, then shall he bring for his sin, which he has sinned, an unblemished calf of the herd to the Lord for his sin. To the Lord for his sin. And he shall bring the calf to the door of the tabernacle of witnesses before the Lord, and he shall put his hand on the head of the calf before the Lord, and shall slay the calf in the presence of the Lord. And the anointed priest who had been consecrated, having received the blood of the calf, shall then bring it into the tabernacle of witnesses.
All right. That's the end of verse 6.
I'll read 6 too? Okay.
Yeah.
Verse 6. And the priest shall dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle of the blood 7 times before the Lord over against the holy veil.
Holy veil. So, sprinkling blood 7 times. So, why 7 times sprinkling the blood when they're bringing this type of offering? And then I'll explain something. Unintentional sin. So this is called chatas. Chatas is unintentional sin. You guys speak up.
Just the significance behind the number. 7 being the Sabbath. I'm just bringing that up.
Yep.
Completion.
Number of completion.
Cool.
7. Man, that's why I'm thinking when I hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Number of completion.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, this is the chatas sin. I'm gonna have BA keep going, but chatas sin. This is the intentional sin. So the burnt offering was intentional. Excuse me. Yes. Thank you. Rewind. Yes, Sister Kirsten. 7 is the number of completion. Yes. The chatas is unintentional, right? And the olah or ascending or burnt offering is intentional, right? So whether you know about it or you don't, it's still a transgression. That's why I thank the Father for being merciful and gracious, because sometimes you just don't know. Like right now, we probably think we got it all together, but there's probably some things we don't really know fully on this side of heaven, right? So there's that grace. All right. Let's see. All right. So verses 7 to 12 is talking about pretty much how to slaughter, bring the blood, how to do away with the blood, give all the fat, the kidneys, same as it was for the peace offering or the shalomim or the todah or thank you offering, right? So I want to now go to verses 13, um, 13 and 14 of Leviticus 4.
Leviticus 4, 13 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
And if the whole congregation of Israel trespass ignorantly, and a thing should escape the notice of the congregation, and they should do one thing forbidden of any of the commandments of the Lord, 5 which ought not to be done, and should transgress.
You said 5.
Yeah, it says for 5. Hold on, that should be. I think it's like maybe an error or some kind of mark.
Okay.
Yeah, which ought not to be done, and should transgress. And the sin wherein they have sinned should become known to them. Then shall the congregation bring an unblemished calf of the herd for a sin offering, and they shall bring it to the doors of the tabernacle of witnesses. 15.
That was verses 13 and 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me read it from the scriptures, ISR. It says, and if the entire congregation of Israel strays by a mistake, in the Septuagint, it says ignorantly. So the word ignorant, when somebody says, oh, you ignorant, we're not saying a person is stupid. We're just saying a person is not knowing something. Not aware, right? and the matter has been hidden from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done any of the commands of Yahweh which are not to be done, and shall be guilty. When the sin which they have sinned becomes known, then the assembly shall bring a young bull for the sin and bring it before the tabernacle, right? So as an assembly, when you're transgressing as an assembly, as a congregation, as a one body, you have to do this together, but something has to be made known to you first. You know what I mean? You can't keep going on and somebody doesn't give you an opportunity to learn or present to you. You have to get presented to you what you did in order to learn from it so you won't do it again. Yeah. Right?
This is what we were talking last week when we were talking about the foot washing.
Mm-hmm.
So now one of you was unclean.
One of you was unclean.
The rest of you are unaware.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to clean all of you so that you all don't be guilty. But then we know now it was made known because Yeshua knew.
Right.
But we know he was ultimately he was the bull. He was the offering.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying. That was based on
John 13.
the concept that if 1% in here sinned and we don't know about it, then we all have to be cleansed together.
Yeah, because that's right. Because Yeshua knew it. He knew it. And the rest of the disciples, they did not know it was Judas. They did not know. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Very good.
Now, then you go back to even I think Jacob. I'm thinking, why he told well, actually, it was Noah. I'm thinking, Job. Talking about, I got to pray for all of y'all.
Oh, his children, yeah.
In case one of y'all sins.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's in Job chapter 1, I believe, where he had to make an offering, and because something happened, so what he did was he just made a sacrifice, just because his kids, I think they were not aware of it. It was I forget in particular what it was, but it was.
But like I said, he didn't know that it wasn't.
Right, he did it just in case.
I have to cover y'all.
Right.
Because if you did sin, I don't know about it.
Yeah, you cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure you're covered.
Right.
So like I said, this is a long way back.
This
is something that they knew to do. We're supposed to know to pray for our children because we don't know what they're doing. I know y'all doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
But, hopefully you didn't cross way over the line.
Right. Yeah.
Like Bill was saying, are we praying for one another?
Mm-hmm.
We understand that I'm not praying for y'all just because something came up with. If we're together, then I need to know, and I need to be conscious of the fact that I'm praying for y'all because if something overcomes you and you don't bring it to the table,
exactly,
then we have to cover each other.
Like it says in Job chapter 4. It's Job chapter 1 and verse 4.
Job chapter 1 and verse 4?
Job chapter 1 and verse 4 says, and his sons visiting one another prepared a banquet every day taking with them also their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And when the days of the banquet were complete, Job sent and purified them, having risen up in the morning and offered sacrifices for them according to their number, and 1 calf for a sin offering for their souls. For Job said, lest peradventure my sons have thought evil in their minds against God. Thus then Job did
Continuously.
Exactly.
It's you know, your children are connected to you, right? And that
And you know your kids.
and that which is connected to you, it affects you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's why you hear parents, they send their children off to school. They, you're representing the mother or the father. So that mother or father doesn't want you acting up, in front of the teacher or whoever, because you're a representation of home,
Mhm.
right? You're
Your
connected.
reflection.
You're
Your
yeah,
reflection of
right.
what's going on.
It's affecting you.
Kids, they speak loud.
So
Kids,
in
they
the show, like I said, he mentioned there was a specific banquet. And even when we just read in Leviticus, he was talking about you bring it before the tent of meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're paying attention, we can figure out what day this will happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the different offerings. It's like this is a specific day.
Yeah.
Appointed time.
This is a Shabbat.
Yeah.
That we read all the way back in Exodus 16 when it started.
Yeah.
So now, this ain't just any old day of the week. This is a holy day. And if you're going to bring your offering, this is when you do it.
You're on the day of rest.
Because we're atoning for sin.
Exactly, on the day of rest. Right. Ain't that something?
But we don't, and so we start getting these legalistic conversations about cooking and all that. We can find out if we really
It's
want
there.
to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta, you have to be
We
willing.
just read they were cooking and eating
on the Sabbath. They were doing it.
It didn't say the word Shabbat, but we can figure out when that was taking place. But there's a specific way to do it.
Reading, learning, context.
But this is the problem.
And then like I said, it ain't just a potluck. There's some things you eat and you don't eat.
Comprehension.
Yeah.
When you this is what happens, and I'll be quick. You know what I'm saying? It's people have to literally read it. And this happened on the Sabbath, yada yada yada. Thus saith the no. Just read it.
Some people have to see it
They have
verbatim.
to see it verbatim. But then all of a sudden, that's also a reflection on your faith.
Like I said, if you don't research, if all you have is a King James, no, it's not going to say it.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Other translations, like I said, what does it mean when we're at the tent of meeting?
It's a gathering. You know what I'm saying? So, but the thing is that also shows your faith as well, because you don't have to literally see God the Father or Christ literally to know that they did what the things they've done. You have faith. You have not literally seen it. You know it because you feel it. You know it's there. So it's the same thing with this. Everything in here is not going to be verbatim. There's going to be some things the Most High going to reveal to you. You know what I'm saying? So all this about you can't do this and you can't. No, look, let's just read the book, please, and just pray on it. That's all we got to do. It's that simple. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It doesn't. It really doesn't. But it's a key word, like you said, gathering. Yeah, it happened on the gathering. That's the honest truth.
Was there a question on that? You were pointing at the screen.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna but say, like, I only go with what the text say. You know what I mean?
Me too.
I Leviticus 4 is just when you bring an offering, and then it tells you this is pretty much just talking about the instructions for when you bring an offering. But here particularly doesn't say what day, but there are some some passages. No. There are some passages that talk about what days these did or can take place on. But I was just going from Leviticus 4. We're just talking about the types of offering and how you offer. But there's other chapters that show when these offerings were bought and were they brought on different days. So this one right here, the what is it? Unintentional. It's Leviticus 4. I can't say that it's bought on a particular day looking at Leviticus 4. But
because
there's
the way it was read, yeah, exactly.
There's other chapters that show when they are done and when they can be done on the days. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they can't be done on the Sabbath day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, when you read the text, just let the text speak as to the one you're reading then, and then the Father will elaborate more on what days these were brought. You see what I'm saying? So I was just saying that. I just didn't want to get anybody confused. But okay, so Sister Kirsten had a question. Says, do you always repent for your child's sin? At what point is the child responsible for their own?
Let's see. I would say, what was that? What was the age of the kids that got cut off in the wilderness? 12? Was it 12?
I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not gonna say because I don't know.
Well, that's when
You talking about Korach's rebellion?
No. I'm talking about that generation that did not leave the wilderness. It was an age.
It was an older generation.
Yeah,
It was the older generation. So they showed wasn't 12, 13.
Yeah, I think it was like 20. Was it over 21?
it's kind of different because at the age 20, they were responsible for their actions.
Yeah.
Right? Because he said, kill anybody over the age of 20. I mean, so they know, but basically, when you look at the Birhad Shah, the New Testament talks about train them up as the way they should go. When they get older,
He's over, we not depart from it.
they won't depart. But it doesn't say, because basically what it's saying is, you obey your parents not until they die. You obey your parents until you die. So I don't care if you're 80 years old, you're still supposed to obey your parents, the foundations that they taught you. Okay. You're not really off the hook because I'm 21 now, I don't have to listen to nobody. I can do whatever I want to do. No, you were taught and trained, to follow, And so now we're children of God, and so as a child of God, we follow Him always. So the Bible doesn't really, like I said, you're not gonna get that verbatim at this age.
Yes, right.
You're not gonna get that.
Right.
When she says, I'm meaning in the context of when Job.
In the context of when Job offered a sin offering for his children.
Well, it doesn't necessarily say.
They was grown because they went out the home. You know what I'm saying? They went about the home. There's no specific age, but just
these are grown men
and women.
Just like kind of like what Jesus said, it's a play on numbers.
I don't want to assume.
Because when you look at Moses, they said he was full grown at 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
And when when Abraham took Isaac up for the sacrifice, it said he was in his late 30s. So in the context, I'll say this in the yeah, I'll show you that later. I'll show you that later.
Yeah, I ain't know that.
Yeah.
It's all like saying you can't really, because when you talk about they were looking for your shoes.
Right.
He was 12 years old. Where you been? Like, why are you looking for me? I'm about my father's business.
Right.
Yeah.
So he knew what his business was at 12.
At 12. Yeah.
But
So
it doesn't say
right.
when he turned 30, I don't listen to my father no more.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
I'm always listening to my father.
Right.
So there is no age for
we
talk about in America,
right.
America where we're considered an adult. And now it's time for you to get out of the house.
Yeah, but Sister Kirsten, that Job, in the context of Job, it's not really age. What Brother Darrell was saying, it's not really age of accountability. It's just that your heart was so much for the Most High Yahweh, you wanted to cover for your children. Even like for example, I don't know about y'all, but my mom, when she rest her spirit. Well, my mom, it was some things that she still covered when we were in our 20s, 30s, out the house. You see what I'm saying? A parent has that much love for their children. So it's not that you have to give the responsibility to the kids or they got to have some sort of responsibility for themselves. No, if you go into a bind or a situation or hardship, sometimes your parent gonna be there for you no matter if you 50, 60, out the house, everything, right? It's just because you love your children. They connected to you. They're a part of you. Yeah.
Yeah, he came
exactly.
back. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had to deal still with both of his sons on a different level.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just like I said, we just talking about what it is to be a son, what it is to be a father.
Yeah.
There's no cutoff date.
You're right.
As a parent, I always pray for them.
Hallelujah.
Exactly.
I always pray for them. I always try to keep them covered. So,
As much as possible.
They're doing something.
Yeah, as much as possible.
But also the Proverbs said, you train a kid up in the right way. He will always have something to come back to.
Hallelujah. Yep.
You know, and I trained with the right way, I thought. But you know he's gonna go astray, so I'm always praying for him.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. I
Hallelujah.
don't care how old he gets.
That's right. That's yours. It came from you.
When I go, I'm gonna leave some prayers back there.
Yeah, I hear you.
Right.
Somebody said, you know you're a successful parent when your children pray for you.
Right. But I think that goes into the understanding of her question, because you said it's not, there is no leaving a child to their own devices when it comes to prayer and covering, because as parents, we are, from the moment they're like conceived, they're coming, you're on that prayer visual. But it's when they have, I think that the way that I understand part of her question is when they have cognitive understanding and reasoning is to when you show them how to pray for themselves, how to cover themselves, because even though you as the parent are still covering them, when they're out and about doing all kinds of things, you don't know what they're doing. They are making their own decisions and making their own choices. So they have to have the understanding and the reasoning of how to work through that. And that's through prayer and doing their own covering. So that's how I understood her question.
No, I understood it too. That's why the first thing I thought of was the age cutoff. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I went that direction.
Another thing the Bible really talks about to me is now we're talking about covering. So there is a passing of the mantle. So now when a father gives his hand in marriage, I'm giving you my responsibility. So now the husband of that woman, the responsibility just changed. So now as when God looks at the covering now, he ain't looking at the father no more. He's looking at the husband.
Yeah, because the husband he's covered.
But the father still prays.
Oh yeah.
And the child still because of their foundational teaching, they still obey. But now we're talking about covering versus, obedience, but the covering still now is, but, word to God says, I'm looking at the husband, I'm looking at you. Since I've been watching you, and it says in Malachi, from the youth of your wife. So as soon as you took on that wife,
that responsibility.
Now I'm looking at you. Exactly. And now yours, like I said in Corinthians, the body of the wife is not hers, but the husband. And the body of the husband is not his, the wife. And so now there's a different covering now.
They're responsible for each other.
So like I said, we talk about now, because we're talking about atonement. So now I'm responsible for the atonement of my family, not her father. Though he still prays for me. But if
well, is that right, brother girl? Give me 10 push-ups. My body need to get in shape.
Say what?
Give me 10 push-ups. My body need to get in shape.
I should have known he was gonna come down here and say something.
I didn't write it.
I should have. And then when he came out and said, I was like, oh wow, here you go. I should have known. I said, oh boy.
Like I said, but it worked both ways.
I know. That's why I live at 10.
See, this is why I have a cry, pray, and study room. You know what I'm saying? Cry a lot, pray a lot. You know what I'm saying? Wait waging war, spiritual war.
This is 10 of them though.
Simon, are you supposed to be on the job? They came down with torch.
They need to go back up with torch. Ascend. You know what I'm saying?
Go upstairs.
He got
Excuse me. Excuse me, y'all. I need to get my dogs out of here. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Come on.
Come on. Go. Go.
Now, Fred.
All right.
So,
yeah, we're gonna have to really do coverings one day.
oh, I can't wait till we do that one.
Coverings and head coverings and what covering is and like I said, they should say as parents we cover. We're the covering for our children. The husband is a covering for his wife. And then for the man, our covering is Yeshua.
Yeah.
And so I don't care what garment you have on, you better be under.
That you may be able to cover the Most High's cover.
And there's right.
Yeah, because
covering.
the cloth ain't gonna do a darn thing.
And
It ain't gonna do
right
nothing.
covering. I like
You know what
how
I'm
you
saying?
said that.
Yeah, but
Leviticus 4.
Leviticus 4.
Let's okay, we went over verses 13 to 14. Let's go start at verses 20, 22, 22 to 32, please.
Okay. And if a ruler sin and break one of all the commandments of the Lord his God, doing the things which ought not to be done unwillingly, and shall sin and trespass his trespass wherein he has sinned be known to him, there shall he offer for his gift a kid of the goats, a male without blemish. And he shall lay his hand on the head of the kid, and they shall kill it in the place where they kill the victims of the whole burnt offering before the Lord. Excuse me, man. It is a sin offering, and the priest shall put some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger on the horn of the altar of the whole burnt offering.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall pour out all its blood on the bottom of the altar of the whole burnt offering, and he shall offer up all his fat on the altar as the fat of the sacrifice of peace offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him concerning his sins; it shall be forgiven him. And if a soul of the people of the land should sin unwillingly and do anything contrary to anything of the commandments of the Lord, which ought not to be done, and shall transgress, and his sin should be known to him, wherein he has sinned, then shall he bring a kid of goats, a female without blemish, shall he bring for his sins which he has sinned. And he shall lay his hands on the head of the sin offering, and they shall slay this kid of the sin offering in the place where they slay the victims for the whole burnt offerings. And the priest shall take of his blood with his fingers, and shall put it on the horns of the altar, of burnt offerings. And all its blood he shall pour forth by the foot of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat as the people is taken. Let me read that again. And he shall take away all the fat as the fat is taken away from the sacrifice of peace offering. And the priest shall offer it on the altar for a smell of sweet savor to the Lord. And the priest shall make atonement for him, and his sin shall be forgiven.
All right.
The priest shall make atonement.
Right. So the ruler sinning by mistake.
Yeah, so the
right?
king or your leader over the
Yeah,
group
your
or
judges. They
judges,
human beings too.
Yeah.
They can make mistakes.
presidents,
So they can transgress.
governors, and
Right. So there's specific way they have to come near the Father or bring an offering or a gift to the Father. Any questions or comments? Okay. Let's go to 20 more minutes. Let's go to Leviticus 5. Yeah, and I'm gonna make some connections. So Leviticus 5. Let's see. Read verses 1 to 7.
And if a soul sin and hear the voice of the swearing, and he is a witness or has seen or been conscious of it, conscious if he do it not report it, he shall bear his iniquity.
Okay, pause. says when a being sins in the scripture ISR, when a being sins, he heard the voice of swearing. He's a witness, right? And has seen it, right? So he either seen it or has known about it, but does not reveal it. He shall bear his what? Iniquity. So iniquity is the transgression, right? So what is Leviticus 5:1 talking about?
If you see something, you don't say nothing about it. I'll call it what it is. So it's gonna be on you.
So this is lying by omission. Go ahead. You
That makes you a willful sin.
man.
Yeah, because you saw something and you didn't call it. So you're just as guilty. Well, what's that old saying? A man who does nothing is guilty of nothing.
In my Bible says he must bear the consequences. So there's always a consequence.
I mean, you see something wrong. Like if you seeing like for like listen to stories about brothers walking past stores and seeing like a couple argue, a man and a woman, and you walking down the street, yeah, you minding your own business, but you see a man hitting a woman, right, or a woman hitting a man, and you just see it, you just keep going, and then a couple months later, the people that you saw, either the man or the woman, they find them in a ditch somewhere dead. And then you a witness. The news station put an APB out, says please come forth, and you just like you know.
We got that. I'm sorry.
This Bible translates if a person who was a witness sworn to testify, so you took an oath.
Took an oath.
So we're assuming that this ain't just somebody out on the street. This is weird. We're in Leviticus, right? So we're in the assembly.
Yeah, this is the gathering. This is part of the gathering.
Because he heard the voice of swearing.
You've been trained,
right?
And you swore to testify. You took an oath.
Yep.
Now,
it's a covenant there.
Now there's a covenant agreement that this is what you do.
Righteousness. You're supposed to be a righteous judge or a righteous individual in this congregation or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? And we know that's not the code of the streets. Not the streets is.
We see it's not the code of the Most High. But continue. So Leviticus 5, let's continue at verse 2.
Verse 2. That soul which shall touch any unclean thing or carcass, or that which is unclean being taken of beasts, or dead bodies of abominable reptiles, which are unclean, or carcasses of unclean cattle, or should touch the unclean of a man of whatsoever kind, which he may touch and be defiled by, and it should have escaped him, but afterwards he should know, then he shall have transgressed. That unrighteous soul which determines with his lips to do evil or to do good according to whatsoever a man may determine with an oath, and it shall have escaped his notice, and he shall afterwards know it, and he should sin in someone. I'm sorry, let me read that one more time. That unrighteous soul which determines with his lips to do evil or to do good according to whatsoever a man may determine with an oath, and it shall have escaped his notice, and he shall afterwards know it, and so should sin in someone of these things. Then shall he declare his sin in the things wherein he has sinned by that sin.
Okay. What verse is that?
That was all 4 and 5.
Okay, keep reading it to the end of verse 6.
And he shall bring for his transgressions against the Lord for his sin which he has sinned, a lamb of the flock or a kid of the goats for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him for his sin which he has sinned, and his sin shall be forgiven him.
All right. So this type of offering, what we call an asham or guilt offering. And I know Isaiah 53 speaks of the offering that the suffering servant did, and that was pretty much offering for guilt or asham.
Not for his guilt.
Right.
We understand who that is that Isaiah 53 is talking about. He's bearing the punish. He's being punished. You know what I'm saying? Well, he's the offering for the nation of Israel or just humanity. Talk about the Messiah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It said that it pleasured not these words, I'm paraphrasing, but it said it pleasured the Lord to strike him. So that means that this servant is perfect, that he's holy, and the Most High is he's going to have to be that sacrifice to atone, not die for you. He's going to atone for you. There's a
Cover
difference.
for you, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people say that Christ died for it. No, he didn't. He atoned. No man could die for you. Christ atoned your sins.
That's the restoration. But I'll go ahead. Go ahead, Rosina.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask why in this particular offering it's now a female of the flock and not a male. I never understood the significance in that. Of I understand the significance of a perfect sacrifice, and has to be clean and no blemishes. But I never got the significance of why it was either male or female.
That's a good question.
Leviticus 5.
Leviticus 5, verse 6. So,
Is that Isaiah
53.
what you say, Brother Liam?
What kind of offering is it?
It's an Asham or the guilt offering. Guilt offering.
Isaiah 50.
Yeah.
Because it leads up to that.
So in the sin offering, you always have to use a female goat as a sacrifice. So the question was why the female?
Why the female in this offering here? Why allowed a female in this offering? Because the Shalomim, you could bring a female too,
And
or the or the peace offering.
my brain stems back to the very beginning when it was not that they weren't both there, but it was Eve as the female who bit into the fruit that she wasn't supposed to eat. And this is part of the guilt, sin. And so for some reason my brain just went there, and I don't know if it has any relevance and that's why I asked, because male, female, what's the significance? But I never knew.
Well, there was a theory. I didn't research it here, but so the female reproduces. So as a sin offering, because of this sin, so it's like a female, so that it'll never reproduce itself. Is a theory. And just like he says, I cast your sin as far as the east is from the west versus the north and south. Because there's a northernmost point and a southernmost point. And if I keep going north, I'll end up south. So in relation to my sin, I'll run back into my sin again. But there's no eastern point or western point. So if I'm going east, I'm always going east, because east never meets west. There's some theories, and they tied it to like when you talked about the keys. I give you the key to lock doors and unlock doors. So if I lock this door, I take my sin and lock it behind this door, no man can open it. And if I take, say, prosperity and I unlock that door, no man can shut it, because I have the key. So I don't know if that answers it, but I know there was a theory about how that's looked at.
Yeah, that's something to look into for that. Like for this particular offering or guilt offering, I don't know the significance of why it has to be a female, because the father said for the sin offering or for the olah or burnt or sinning offering, that's a male, right? And then peace offerings you can bring male or female, and now for the guilt offering he says bring a female. So I know sometimes I don't have all the answers, and sometimes the father doesn't even give us a way to get all the answers. Maybe it's just something that he want to know only until get to that place. But I might look into that a little further.
Female is more valuable.
The
In a sense that it reproduces.
Yeah, that's what we got right here.
It reproduces more valuable because it reproduces. So you only need but one male goat, and you can reproduce, keep reproducing going. But you only got one female goat.
So you're saying that the female goat or lamb or is more valuable?
More valuable because it's reproducing.
Okay. Or like
I can understand that. Like,
yeah,
I can see it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how to put it, but because
Because
more
the female
valuable.
is able to carry life comes
Yeah.
to her. I see
Okay.
the point you're saying.
Like the incubator, something's going through a process for that long of a period of time, and that which she does, providing that
If you only
food,
have one,
right?
you're in trouble.
Say that one up.
If you only have one female
Oh,
brother.
you in
Take
trouble.
the female out, it's taken away.
The ability to
To
carry
have more
right.
babies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
That's a good that's a
That's
good
a very
that's a
yeah.
good that's
When
a
they
good
talk about
thing you brought up.
generation to generation to generation, well, you just cut that off.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because the Most High is about being productive. If you're not being productive, there ain't no women around.
Or even how they talk about the woman that's married and what that means, and how far that goes into a woman who can't, her womb is closed and she can't bear children. So I mean, there's some deeper significance in all. And like I said, we can cover.
Look at that. And with the male and sin offering it will be the seed of a sin planted. She's making a connection with the girl, with the female.
With the male and sin offering, it would be the seed of sin planted. Seed of sin planted.
Yeah, but she's making a connection with her last comment. If you read the last comment, says because it's what the elder was just saying about women reproducing. So is that the point you were making? No.
Sister Kirsten, we're trying to get some clarity on what your question was, or get some clarity on what your comment was. But let's continue.
Yeah.
Let's go to Leviticus 5, read verses 14. Yeah, read verses 14 to the end of the chapter, and then we're gonna end some stuff out with the connection to the prophets and the gospel.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, the soul which shall be really unconscious and shall sin unwillingly in any of the holy things of the Lord shall even bring to the Lord for his transgression a ram of the flock without blemish, valued according to the shekels of silver, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, for his transgressions wherein he transgressed. And he shall make compensation for that wherein he has sinned in the holy things. And he shall add the fifth part to it, and have it to the priest, and the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of transgression, and his sin shall be forgiven him. And the soul which shall sin and do one thing against any of the commandments of the Lord, which it is not to do, which is not right to do, and he has known it, and shall have transgressed, and shall have contracted guilt. He shall even bring a ram without blemish from the flock, valued at a price of silver, for his transgression to be priest. And the priest shall make atonement for his trespass of ignorance, wherein ignorantly trespassed, and he knew it not, and it shall not be forgiven him.
And it shall be forgiven him.
Yeah, he knew it not, and it shall be forgiven him. Yeah, this stuff is awesome. For he has surely been guilty of transgression before the Most High.
All right. So it's just like when you take something of value from somebody, pretty much, well, not take something. Sorry. When you commit a trespass by mistake, you still have to cover yourself, even if you didn't know it, if by mistake or unintentional or just ignorant, not knowing, right? Um, you have to make good for the sin. So when it's talking about adding 1/5 to it and giving to the priest, what is 1/5? 20. What is 1/5?
1/5 is a
20.
oh,
Yeah, out of 100, just 20.
so yeah, that's I guess the tax, even like for missing a tire, then you have to pay back 1/5, which is twice as much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a tax.
A lot of this right here is like my first time actually reading through this. So Leviticus is a book I've read through certain parts of Leviticus, but the first few chapters, this is all new to me.
Really?
Yeah, it's all new. It's all new to me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's why I'm sitting up here more so listening to everything.
Yeah, it's so nice to go through Leviticus, especially like the first 6-7 chapters,
Yeah.
to get the offerings and what type of offerings are for what an offering was brought.
People compare like Revelation has so many symbols in it. And one of the arguments out of like this particular sin offering, he says it comes up all the time because it tells the priest, touch not the unclean thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we even read it here. It says don't touch it. But then because of the atonement for someone who inadvertently sins, he told the priest to dip his finger in the blood. And why was he not in violation?
Right.
Why was he not guilty of touching something unclean when the Lord says he dipped his finger and sprinkled it 7 times? But he was not in violation of what he just said was a violation.
Because the priest was set apart. That's why.
Huh?
The priest had to be set apart.
Set apart.
You know
But I'm saying, but it's.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, but that was the reason why the priest was allowed to do it, because the priest was set apart.
Yeah, but it's saying that the priest is not supposed to touch.
Yeah.
Anything blood. The same thing with when the woman with issue of blood touched Yeshua.
Yeah.
That was unlawful. She has an issue of blood, and she just touched the Lord, who is a priest,
set apart.
And you're unclean, and you touched him.
Yeah, and the thing is, and then we could read. I think it said because it said she touched his border, so that indicates he was already trending.
But it's in any part.
I know. I was just.
It says any part because you're not supposed to let it touch
anything.
Yeah. Your garment or anything.
But that just shows you how pure the Messiah was, how pure he was.
Pure.
You know what I'm saying?
Pure. I want to go to Ezekiel 45, and then we'll go to and then we'll go to Matthew 5, and then we'll close it out.
Ezekiel
45.
Yeah, I read through here before.
I'm gonna have to do some skipping around, but this will answer one of the questions we were talking about when it came to the Shalomim or peace or thank you offering for the offering.
Yeah, some good stuff from Ezekiel chapter 40 on down. That's some real good stuff.
You found it?
Yeah, Ezekiel 45 on verse.
Read verses 16 and 17.
16 and 17. And it reads, and all people shall give these first fruits to the prince of Israel.
What we just talking about, right? First fruits, offerings, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You understand first fruits also outlined with Pentecost.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And through the prince shall be offered the whole burnt offerings and the meat offerings and the drink offerings and the feast and at the new moons.
You speak up.
I'm sorry. Verse 17.
No, and, you ain't in the garage at home. Yeah, go ahead. Come on.
and through the prince shall he be offered the whole burnt offerings and the meat offerings and the drink offerings and the feast and at the new moons and on the Sabbaths and all the feasts of the house of Israel. He shall offer the sin offerings and the meat offerings and the whole burnt offerings and the peace offerings to make atonement for the house of Israel. Man, that was a lot.
Right, it was a lot. It says it's through the prince. And
he said almost about.
What did he say again, Brother Daryl?
I read it.
He said on Sabbath. On Sabbath.
But that's work.
That's the day.
We just gonna let
rest.
We just gonna let the scripture speak.
He said on these days we're to offer, to ascend, to burn, to cook. Okay.
We're gonna continue.
So,
go ahead.
Now who's the prince?
The ultimate prince or the leader is Yeshua, the Messiah. So, but here, in Ezekiel, you know what I mean. You have the prince of the rulers of the people.
So basically, at the festival, this is what you bring.
Ain't that something?
Let's continue.
Let's keep going.
No.
We don't never want to read that, but All through the Bible it
Context.
says,
Context.
tent a meeting, Shabbat, it says, this is what you do on this day. So here's the priest in there, they laying hands, all, we bringing bulls and goats and making fires and tells you how to put the wood on the fire and add wood, But all we want to read is Exodus 20. And it says, don't do nothing.
Keep reading, BA, all the way. We're gonna go to chapter 46 too. We gotta just take our time with this, but we gonna
Chapter 46, what verse?
No. Keep going. Read verse 18 of Ezekiel 45. We're gonna read all of this, and not all of it, but
Thus
just
saith
keep going.
the Lord God, in the first month, on the first day of the month, ye shall take a calf without blemish out of the herd to make an atonement for the holy place. And the priest shall take of the blood of the atonement and put it in the threshing hole of the house, and upon the four corners of the temple, and upon the altar, upon the thresholds of the inner court. And thus shalt thou do in the 7th month, on the first day of the month. Thou shalt take a rate from each one, and ye shall make an atonement for the house. Notice atonement.
All right, so let's skip over Ezekiel 46.
46, what verse?
Start at verse 1. I'm just gonna make some connections.
Okay, verse 1. Thus saith the Most High, the gate that is in the inner court that looks eastward shall be put in 6 working days, but let it be open on the 7th day, and it shall be open on the day of the new moon.
Read that a little bit slower.
Read it one more time.
Slower.
Thus saith the Most High, the gate that is in the inner court that looks eastward shall be shut the 6 working days, but let it be open on the Sabbath day, and it shall be open on the day of the new moon.
Read verse 3.
Verse 3.
Actually, no. Read verse 4. Read verse 4. Read verse 4.
And the prince shall offer whole burnt offerings to the Lord on the Sabbath day, 6 lambs without blemish, and a ram without blemish, and a free will offering, a meat offering for the ram, and a meat offering for the lamb, and the gift of his hand, and a hin of oil for the meat offering.
All right. Wow. See, the Sabbath day is also a festival day. It's a day of rejoicing, right? That's why a lot of the times the feast days, even though the feast days are not on the 7th day, a lot of them are called holy convocations. See, some from your work, your melacha, your work for money, and there's supposed to be a time you come together, you enjoy and rejoice. You enjoy each other, you fellowship, you rejoice, and you come together. It's a festival.
But check this out.
Let's
go to verse 1 again. Thus saith the Lord, the gate that is in the inner court that looks eastward shall be shut for 6 working days. Done.
What word is that?
Brother woke up now.
It's just simple. All
working
right.
days. A whole working days. So what we're reading here, this was always going on every week. Because you have some people, I'm not talking about nobody in particular, but it's commonly taught that only on the feast days you can cook on the feast days, no Sabbath. We didn't read that, did we?
The Father is telling us we can offer, right? The Father's telling us all these offerings that we're doing, right, are allowed, and He's telling us when they're allowed, right?
Weekly.
Because back in 45, verse 17, the very end of that, He says, He is to prepare the sin offerings, grain offerings, burnt offerings, and peace offerings. You're preparing it on that day.
How do you prepare it again?
You got to start with fire. Sorry. He didn't say prepare it the day before, because like I said, the gates were closed. So they had to bring everything on that day and prepare it there.
Now you
so
guys.
It's not like the,
not like we're
collecting your
teaching,
food.
like you got to have it done before 6 o'clock Friday night.
It's not like having the food or the manna that fell from heaven, and you had to collect it on the 6th day to have enough for the 7th day. This is in different contexts.
Exactly.
All we're saying is if that's what you do, you're not in violation. We're not mad at you if you got it all done before 6. But don't be mad at us.
Well, let me say something. The word when it says toward the east, Kadim Yihye shall be Sagor shut, Sheshet 6 Yeme 6 days. Hama Ase. Hama Ase is the word working translated in most things, but the word Maase Hama Ase H4639. So I was incorrect about saying Malacha work. See, this is why I'll correct. You know, I don't mind being corrected. I just got corrected. So that word for working there is not Malacha. It's Maase H4639. Deed, work, deed, thing done, act, work, labor, business, pursuit, undertaking, enterprise, achievement. So from H6213, which is Asa, a thing accomplished or a thing made or produced, right? So it says from H6213, an action, good or bad, generally a transaction, abstractly activity, by implication a product. Um, so it could be okay. Well,
various definitions in there.
yeah, the various. So it's a baked meat, business, deed, labor, thing made, where of making,
That's also work.
occupation. So okay, so this is also.
It's open.
Oh wait, no, occupation. So that's money. You know, your occupation is money.
You're occupied. You're making
So
money.
yeah, so this is why it's good to take a good look at the word work. You know, because sometimes there are different things. So now we know there's malaka work, work for money, which is similar, somewhat similar in certain contexts to Hamase, um, a deed or a work. Sometimes it's an occupation or it could not be, right? And then we have another work which is abad, like a service. So, but yeah, these are on the
But
set.
then again, we're still talking about he said it,
Good.
but he did say the inner court, the east of the inner court, which means, you know, now you're talking about he comes in through the east,
Mm-hmm.
and here's the holy of holies. And so that's shut. But you stand on the outer court. He didn't close the outer court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They still have activity going
on, right?
And this is why I was stressing that we do the Torah portions, because, like I always say, when you do them, then you find out who really knows what they're talking about. Like I admit today, the first 7, 8 chapters of Leviticus, blank, didn't know nothing about them. Ain't that something? And I learned a lot today because
Hallelujah.
I've read through Ezekiel, but never made the connections with the first 7 chapters of Leviticus.
Like I said, in Leviticus, we've read it.
Yeah.
We just didn't know this where it originated.
Come on, brother
So
girl.
it's repeated.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't know this is where they first was talking about.
Exactly.
So when you go to Exodus, Leviticus, this is the origin of our Genesis. This is Torah is the origin of it.
It's a
But
foundation.
if all you did was read the New Testament.
Come on.
You still read it.
Yeah.
You know, you just didn't reference back. You know, so now, like you said, you know, in the churches we've been preached to, and they'll preach Ephesians and James, and they'll wear it out, but they won't go here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit up here and preach Leviticus. Let's go Leviticus 1. I'll preach something to you. They won't do that.
Yeah. Like, see, I've heard various teachers teach on Leviticus, and the connections you made today don't ever make the connections. I mean, I even seen. This is the honest truth. I've seen doing a law reading one time. Teachers, when it comes to the first few chapters of Leviticus, and I'm gonna tell you that's one of the reasons why I never read through it myself, because the teachers I was under, they didn't do too much. Oh, we're gonna preach us from this is skip to chapter 4, or just skip to chapter yada yada. See, so I was a reflection of who was teaching. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you read. Now, I'm gonna go have you read something else too. Actually, Ezekiel 46. No, it's the same place. Ezekiel 46. Verses 12 to 15, and then we'll read a little bit of Matthew 5, and then we'll wrap it up. Got you. And I'm sorry for keeping everybody so long, but this is good fellowship.
Verse 12.
I am happy for you, BA, for your revelation today. You know what I mean? That's awesome.
Verse 12, you said, right?
Yeah, start at verse 12. We're gonna read to verse 15.
And if the prince should prepare as a thanksgiving a whole burnt offering to the Lord, and should open for himself the gate looking eastward, and offer the whole burnt offering and his peace offering as he does on the Sabbath day.
And his peace offering on the what day?
Keep reading. Then shall he go. Then shall he go out and shall shut the doors after he is gone out. And he shall prepare daily as a whole burnt offering to the Lord a lamb of a year old without blemish. In the morning shall he prepare it. And he shall prepare a freewill offering for it in the morning, the sixth part of a measure of flour, and a third part of a hin of oil.
Wait. Are you skipping? No. Start from verse 12 again.
Verse 12, yeah.
Start from verse 12 again, because it seems like it. But go ahead.
If the prince should prepare as a thanksgiving a whole burnt peace offering to the Lord, and should open for himself the gate looking eastward, and offer his whole burnt offering and his peace offering as he does on the Sabbath day, then shall he go out and shall shut the doors after he has gone out. And he shall prepare daily as a whole burnt offering to the Lord a day of a year old without blemish. In the morning shall he prepare it.
A lamb of a year old or a day? A lamb of a year old, right?
No, it says a lamb of, I'm sorry. A lamb of a year old without blemish. In the morning shall he prepare it. And he shall prepare a freewill offering for it in the morning, the sixth part of a measure of flour, and a third part of a hin of oil to mix wherein the fine flour as a freewill offering to the Lord, a perpetual ordinance. This is
anybody want to add anything?
This is supposed to go. So this goes on, like we just read in Exodus 45. This is something continuously.
And it said the Shalomim or peace or Torah offering was for food, right?
Wow. So the next question I would say, and this is just me, and I'm not mocking nobody, but what about those who say, well, they're supposed to be for the priests? It said the prince.
Aren't we a nation of priests?
We took the covenant. The most Exodus 19, it says, you shall be a nation of priests, my holy people.
Peter reiterated, right?
He said, on the morning. Definition of morning.
After it comes in, when it's sunlight. So now all of a sudden, we don't have to feel shamed for cooking breakfast on the Sabbath.
Thank you, Father, for this food.
Thank you.
And what does it mean when he said this is a permanent regulation?
It's continuously. Do it for the rest of your days.
So now the argument is, when people argue when they read this, does it contradict Exodus 20 and 8? Or we were just not comprehending Exodus 20 and 8.
But see, when you're dealing with somebody of that mindset, that just shows you they're not reading. Because look,
or maybe not comprehending what they're reading.
Yeah, or both.
Oh yeah.
Because me, like I said, I admit it, I did not piece the first 5 chapters of Leviticus with this. I didn't. I may have skimmed over them, maybe took a few glances, but never realized what we were built. We pretty much painted a picture. And we just proved that there's nothing here saying that there's a violation on cooking on the Sabbath.
So, point is, it's okay to work for the Lord.
Exactly. So what's that? Now we know. So now we know. Now can we all say, is it work to cook on the Sabbath? Well, no. And we see the priests, and sis just said, well, it's for the Levites. No, we're a nation of priests. So we can all do this.
To rephrase what you said, it is work, but is it a sin? No.
Exactly.
Is it a transgression?
No. See, so that's the thing. And as you can see, the Most High, works in so many ways, man. He gonna bring it out. See, and we live in a society where we got to be convinced. It's got to be an answer right on the spot. The Bible is not meant for that. The word of the Most High is meant for you to sit here, soak it up and learn it, soak it up like a sponge. You have to sit here and piece it. That's why I love this girl to death.
I love you too.
She showed me all kind of new study habits. You know what I'm saying? Because seriously, I walked in here like, oh, we're gonna do the first 3 chapters of Leviticus. Oh boy. You know what I'm saying?
Just trying to do my part. That the Most High bless me.
Who wants to read Matthew chapter 1 at all?
See, because that's the lineage. People like
it's hard to read all the things.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, so what is that about?
Yeah, exactly. And see, that's the attitude you have, because you have people who feel like I didn't need to know this, so I didn't need to. Like me, I used to be that way. I don't gotta read the first 3 chapters of Leviticus. I get it. And look, this is the word of God. So now all of a sudden, when you have that mindset, you have bound the word of God to something. It's full of life. So it may seem minor, but if you actually sit there and humble yourself and read it, now all of a sudden, wow. No, I mean, now all of a sudden, like other books, like the Book of Chronicles.
Yeah.
I have to force myself to go through Chronicles. I gotta force myself. I mean, I've read through it, but guess what? Now I'm gonna really have to force myself. Now, at first I used to just like.
Yeah. Right.
People read Ezekiel. Yeah. Ezekiel is about 12 visions, Jacob's
prophecies and missions and all type of visions. Yeah, exactly. Prophecies
I
and
don't want to read about vision, even though he's saying I'm prepared for my vision.
Yeah.
It's the word.
I listened to watching Gotham last night. Listen to the Riddler. And he said, one hand has 2 eyes and cannot see. Vision.
Wow.
But I knew the answer, but it was like, yeah, so it's
powerful statement.
But like I said, we don't really want to understand vision.
Come on.
And we don't understand there's a difference between a dream and a vision.
Ooh.
I can have a dream. We dream all the time, but was that a vision?
Ooh.
Or was that a dream?
And it was, when you're talking about like visions, this is stuff foretold.
Yeah.
To come to pass. I'm sorry, definitions and digging. Okay.
Beautiful, right? You're gonna be up till 2 o'clock in the morning again in this word, ain't you? I see.
I've already glossed over. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
These are
visions. Yep.
No, this
is something that's going to come to pass. Yeah. That hasn't come to pass.
Oh yeah, and this vision in Ezekiel we're reading when the kingdom fills the earth. This is Christ, the prince in Ezekiel, the prince that we're talking about who's going to be doing all these things. It's going to be Christ. It's going to be him doing it, because he's the supreme ultimate priest.
Hallelujah.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to be. I mean, and I think it also, yes, from Ezekiel chapter 40 up to what we just read. It's talking about what's going on, what's going to happen when the kingdom fills the earth.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? That's right there in the prophets. You know, we ain't got to go to Revelation. We can read it right in Ezekiel 40, right from there. Don't have to go to the New Testament. 40 verse chapter 40 through 46. That's pretty much what's going to happen when the kingdom of heaven fills the earth that Christ talked about when the prophet Isaiah spoke about when the mountain of the Lord fills the earth.
What I got is Ezekiel and Revelation. Revelation is from a heavenly point of view, and Ezekiel is from the earthly point of view.
Exactly. That's how I look at it.
All happening at the same time.
Same time. Yes. You have to, see, that's why I always say
as it is above, so it is below.
Yeah. As it on earth,
as
mind,
as it is
earth. The earth is the flesh. Earth, heaven is the mind.
Thy will be done on earth
as it is in heaven. The kingdom of the Lord's Prayer, Matthew chapter 6. It's right there. But all you have to do is just put it together. But if we're going to sit here and say, I'm this, I'm that, and you can't do this, and you can't, you just shut the spirit off. Woo. You just shut it off, because you bound this eternal presence to something that he's not bound by.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden, when we say a burden on the Sabbath, does what do you when you hear that in Jeremiah 17 when he says a burden?
It says don't take a burden out of your house on the Sabbath. So it's like let's read the text for what it say though.
Spiritually, this is a spiritual being.
Yeah.
He's talking about something deeper. He's not bound by your personal view. That's why I always tell people, take your personal view out of this and actually read. He says, my ways not your ways.
Come on.
And my thoughts not your thoughts.
Come on.
We're gonna politic over a trash bag.
Man.
He's not. So that's my thing. And I'm done.
You say he up, huh? He up. He feel good like James Brown when he go to coat on the winter coat. Somebody go get the coat.
It's a long story.
He feel good now.
I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch this video. I'm gonna take every note. I'm gonna connect everything. And I'm also gonna find some. I'm a swordsman. I like to also add other stuff to stuff. So I'm gonna most definitely study this one.
Yeah, if you ain't got to work tonight, that means you're going to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning,
we got to put together a debate talk. We got to do that. Yeah, so we're going to be up late.
This is exciting, y'all. The word is exciting. What were you going to say, Brother Leon? Yeah, Matthew 5. Matthew 5. 23 to 30. Read that, and then we're done and make the connection. I want to see if anybody can make the connection. Matthew 5, 23 to 30. Our brother done got his third win.
You said Matthew 5 and 23 and
yeah, we're gonna read verses 23 to 30.
23 to 30. And it reads, so when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go first be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly.
Pause real quick. So if then you bring your gift, when you bring in your gift, what did I say at the beginning of the lesson? That's your korban. You're coming near to the Father, right? And it says, do what? Go to your brother and make reconciliation or peace with your brother, and then come offer your gift. Why that? Why go to your brother first and then come offer?
You should not have discord between your brothers and sisters. So you want to make peace before coming to offer your best. Because if you're in discord, that's a part of being unclean.
And discord is disconnected, right? And what are we?
We're connected. We should be connected.
Remember the scripture.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Because remember when we're reading in Leviticus, it says, this is for you to be forgiven. So remember the scripture, if you don't forgive your brother first, I can't forgive you.
Yes.
And you see,
leave your armor where it is, go forgive him because I can't.
No, gift don't mean nothing. Exactly. Gift
Come
don't mean
on.
nothing.
Your prayer.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like how he said, leave it though. He didn't say take it with you and then come back. He said, leave it. So in a sense, he's saying, I'm giving you the opportunity. I'm telling you,
come on,
right up front, that you have a chance to go and work this out, get that forgiveness, and then come back to me because I'm always here.
Because I done gave you a chance to be forgiven. The Father said, I gave you a chance to be
forgiven. And that's what Christ said, you need to forgive your brother 70 times 7. You just got to constantly do it. You have to forgive.
You just can't half do things when you approach the Most High. You ain't really went to do the action of reconciliation or peacemaking, right?
Yep.
You can't just go through some motions. Here's a lamp.
That's what
because your gift don't help no substance
to it,
because you're not really sincere.
Come on.
So keep your gift. Don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? So 25, right?
Yes. Keep reading. Verse 25.
Come to terms quickly with the accuser while you are on the way to the court with him, or your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly, I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny.
So you better go ahead and do what What it say, right? Keep going. BA.
Wow. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart.
All right, pause right there. That's remember at the beginning when I said there's a sin where you have a thought, but you don't necessarily manifest it into action, even that thought, right? That has to be covered for. That's that olah burnt or sending offering, right?
You
Right.
just read that in Leviticus.
So when somebody says Yeshua wasn't keeping Torah, no, he was keeping Torah. He was the walking Torah. He just made the Torah more comprehensible here. But keep going.
Okay. I should.
I have to put a comment on that because we have to fill in the blanks there.
Go ahead.
Because some people think, well, because I had the thought, it's too late. I'm already in sin, right? So what he says, it was the purpose of lusting, so you continue the thought.
It's
So
that
now
part that they
I
miss.
went from here to your heart
The
because
continuing of thought.
you kept
Continuing.
processing that thought until it got in your heart. Not. I saw the woman over there. No, I'm gonna go to the next window and follow her. So you letting that process and fester.
I'm gonna park and wait till she come out.
I might even holler at
Yeah, that's kind of
Don't talk to me right now.
But I've heard people say that, and it's like, well, how do you avoid the thought? Well, you can't.
Because we
That's
are
what
all,
I'm saying here.
Yeah.
we were all born in sin and we all fall short.
We all fall short.
Keep practicing for forgiveness.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's thought down. The person takes it.
But like BA said, try to be sincere and try to have a genuine change of heart. Try to do a 180. You know what I mean? Try to do right. Come to yeah. You just do. I agree. You keep going, BA.
If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it.
Oh, okay.
Throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than your whole body to burn into hell. It was also said, whoever divorces his wife, let him.
Is that verse 30? Okay, I just wanted you to read the verse 30. So it says, and if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you. For it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into Gehenna. Gehenna is actually lake. I know in some translations it says hell, but hell is actually the grave, not necessarily the lake. But please go back and do your research on that. Now, this is not necessarily, I don't think it's literal, but there's a message behind, and there's a message behind getting rid of one of your body members as opposed to your whole body being in the lake. Now, I know Brother Darrell said this before. We're connected. What affects one member can affect the next, and it can contaminate, right? And so disconnect yourself from that infectious disease so you can be well. So your whole body or your whole being, right, doesn't get contaminated. So you know when your whole being gets contaminated, you lose altogether the chance to be in the kingdom. You know what I mean? You can go into the kingdom, you know, whole. The infectious parts, it's not working. It's not going to do any good. So we're all connected. So the thing is, that goes back to, what was it, Leviticus 3, when the whole congregation, was it Leviticus 3 when the whole congregation, the whole assembly,
Yeah, it was.
or Leviticus 4?
No, it was 3. It was 3 and 11. 3 and 11.
Leviticus 4. I'm looking at it. 13 or 14. Yep.
So you, like we talking the witness, right? So if you witness somebody sin, you don't say nothing.
Right.
Because if someone in here is guilty of something, even if we're unaware, we're gonna all be
affected by it. Right.
Made guilty.
We're made guilty. We're affected by it. We become contaminated. So it's good to get rid of the contamination so the rest of the body can be whole. You know what I mean? You can't function with contaminated parts. So the the Father says, pretty much your offerings bring you near to the Spirit.
Draw yourself nigh to him.
And when you're brought near to the Spirit, like you said, like it says, you're elevating yourself to an awareness, to be open to the Spirit, to operate and function and manifest as that Spirit wants you to. So that's pretty much it. Somebody says, Yeshua didn't, pretty much when Yeshua said, I did not come to do away with the Torah, the law, or the instructions or teachings. He said he came to complete it and do it. Yeah, not only complete it and do it, but give an example of how to do it, and make it more comprehensible, or bring out these principles that may have been missed by just trying to follow the letter of the law, or just trying to follow the letter of the instructions or teachings. It's the Spirit that quickens. It's the Spirit that gives life. It's the Spirit that gives that knowledge and understanding and that wisdom to be able to know how to apply that knowledge and understanding. Right? So bringing your gifts, bringing your offerings when you're approaching. And this is also a form of worship. Worship, I forget the Hebrew word for it. It's like when you're bowing down, you're subjecting yourself. You're putting yourself under the Most High's will. And so when you're putting yourself under the Most High's will, that's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week thing. That's worship. You approach the Father in these types of manners that He has prescribed in His Word. And I yield from there. And I'll close out with the Aaronic blessing. If after anyone want to make any more comments, any questions?
Read James chapter 4, because James chapter 4 goes with this. James chapter 4 reminds us. Especially when you get to verse 8. Verse 8. James chapter 4, verse 8.
Anyone? All right. So instead of a prayer, we'll just close out with the Aaronic blessing. I'll read the Aaronic blessing and then I'll translate. This is Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. You can read along in the Hebrew. I mean in the English. Yabarechacha Yahweh v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Yahweh panai elecha v'huneka. Yisa Yahweh panai elecha v'yasem l'cha shalom. And that is, Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh shine His face on you, give you favor. Yahweh lift up His face to you and give to you shalom. Shalom means peace, completeness, and wholeness. And I bid my sisters and brothers peace, completeness, and wholeness throughout the rest of the week. I hope I have said something. I hope Brother B.A. has said something, or anybody here, here physically. If you're listening online, we hope that we said something that was edifying, encouraging, uplifting. Please go back and validate and verify everything we say. If you need assistance on the tools, where to get the tools, or how to go about using the tools, my email is duckandodge1@gmail.com, DUCCNDODGE. I'll put it in the description box later. But I want to say shalom to you. Thanks for coming in this Sabbath lesson. Hallelujah.